Chapter 178. Scarblade Chong exclaimed, "An annual salary of 1 million? Not including the 10% of the shares? How much money do you want to invest?" "I don't have much money," said Tan Xiao. "I won't invest much in the early stage." Miao Wentong at the side said with a confused expression, "Brother Tang, we gave you 1 billion, and we're about to transfer 1.5 billion to your account. How can you say that you don't have much money? Listening to your conversation, it seems that you want to do business?" Before Tan Xiao calmly said, "I want to brew wine and build a winery." Scarblade Chong was stunned. He looked at Tan Xiao and Miao Wentong with an incredulous expression on his face. 1 billion plus 1.5 billion, that was 2.5 billion. How could he say that he didn't have much money? Looking at Scarblade Chong's expression, Tan Xiao understood his thoughts and lightly said, "I have 2.5 billion in debt. Moreover, the company has just started, so I need to continue to invest more. Therefore, this money can't be used to build a winery. Also, I won't invest too much in the beginning, 100 million at most." Hiss! Scarblade Chong suddenly sucked in a mouthful of cold air upon hearing it. Investing 100 million in the beginning, but not much? How big of a winery does this lord want to build? How big of a wine business is he going to do? Miao Wenong looked at Tan Xiao with a strange expression as he asked with a probing tone, "Brother Tang, if you're really short on money, I'll think of a way. Give me a few more days and I'll be able to gather a few 100 million. How about you let me invest in it? I don't care about the business, I'm just waiting for the dividends. How about it?" Xiao Mingjun also quickly said, "I'm also willing to come up with 100 million. Give me some shares." Scarblade Chong's body shivered. He recalled that Tang Xiao had promised to give him 10% of the shares. He nearly suffocated to death. 10% of 100 million was 10 million. If he had a few 100 million, he would become a billionaire. Was this what God meant when he said, "Good people will be rewarded"? However, Tan Xiao's next words made him dumbfounded. "Two gentlemen, you can contact me at any time if you want to explore in the future. As for the business, forget it. In my business, I like to have absolute control." Miao Wenong and Xiao Mingjun looked at each other in dismay and only smiled wryly. They had a feeling that if Tan Xiao wanted to build a winery, it wouldn't be simple. Perhaps he had a way to make the wine business bigger and stronger. It seemed like he was going to miss this opportunity. Tan Xiao looked at Scarblade Chong and said, "I still don't know your name." Scarblade Chong quickly said, "Boss, my name is Dai Chong. You can call me Dao Ba or Xiao Chong." Tan Xiao casually said, "When you were mingling around, people called you Scarblade Chong. I'll call you that from now on. Also, I'm going to leave Qingshan town soon. I have something to do in Songbei City before I return to Star City. Do you want to go with me now? Or do you want to arrange your affairs?" Scarblade Chong said, "I've arranged everything yesterday. I've also discussed it with my wife. Once I have a firm foothold in Star City, I'll take the mother and son to Star City so that my son can study there." Tan Xiao said, "All right. Wait for your son to transfer, I'll help arrange the school." Scarblade Chong said with a grateful expression, "Thank you, boss." Tan Xiao waved his hand and said, "Let's go." Scarblade Chong looked at Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjun. He then looked at their men and secretly felt apprehensive. He had indeed done many robberies before, and he had also staked his name and seen blood. But he didn't know why, whether it was Tan Xiao, Miao Wenong, Xiao Mingjun, or those strong men, all of them gave him a dangerous feeling. Looking at Tan Xiao who was about to sit in the car, he whispered, "Boss, can I drive my car and follow behind you?" Tan Xiao asked, "You have a car?" Scarblade Chong pointed to a Toyota Prado parked on the street not far away and said, "That's my car." Tan Xiao pondered for a moment before he looked at Miao Wenong and said, "Since he has a car, then I'll take his car. We'll go our separate ways when we arrive at Songbei City." "All right." Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingjun nodded. Upon hearing Tan Xiao's words, Scarblade Chong immediately ran to the SUV's trunk with a fawning attitude. As the strong man opened the trunk, he reached out to grab Tan Xiao's duffel bag. "Let me do it." Tan Xiao also came to the trunk and calmly said. Scarblade Chong said with a smile, "Boss, I'll handle the small matter of carrying the bag. After saying that, his arm exerted strength and was ready to lift the duffel bag. What's going on? Scarblade Chang was dumbfounded. He used a lot of strength and even tried to lift it twice. At this time, he even used his whole body strength, but he could only lift the duffel bag a few centimeters high. Then, because of the leakage of strength, it fell into the trunk. Tan Xiu patted Scarblade Chang's shoulder and said with a smile, "Let me do it." Swish. Scarblade Chang looked at Tan Xiu as he lightly lifted the duffel bag. His square face instantly turned red, full of embarrassment. He wanted to be attentive and flatter, but the result was that he slapped the horse's leg and made a big joke of himself. He lost his face and made a fool of himself. However, he was also secretly shocked. Although he didn't know what was inside the duffel bag, Tan Xiu's strength made him secretly speechless. Looking at Tan Xiu's effortless appearance, he was sure that Tan Xiu's strength was definitely several times stronger than his, comparable to Hercules. "Boss, what's inside the bag? Why is it so heavy?" To cover up his embarrassment, Scarblade Chang stammered and asked. Tan Xiu lightly said, "2 stones." "Stones?" Scarblade Chang stared blankly and was secretly speechless. He couldn't understand the unique hobbies of these rich big bosses. Why would he give up his good life and come all the way to Qingshan town to get 2 stones? Wasn't this the same as having nothing better to do? Songbei City. Flag District, Ruelong Auto Repair Shop. Wang Ming took the envelope handed by the boss. He didn't look at how much money was inside and stuffed it into his greasy work clothes. After retiring from the army, he, like his other comrades, declined the job arranged by the state and returned to his hometown. He wasn't alone. His only relative was his younger brother, who had just become an adult. Unfortunately, his younger brother was ignorant and incompetent. Since his parents passed away in a car accident a few years ago, no one could control him. Therefore, he often hung out with those riffraff. Because he skipped classes too many times, the school had expelled him. Now, he was an unemployed vagrant and a local ruffian. He beat and scolded him. It was useless. Now, he could only force him to work hard in this auto repair shop with him. He wanted him to be in front of him so that he could look after him and control him. "Big brother, give me your money." After Wang Xiang stuffed his salary into his pocket, he took a pair of pliers to Wang Ming and directly stretched out his hand to ask for money. Wang Ming frowned and lightly said, "What do you want?" Wang Xiang said, "To buy a new phone." Wang Ming was silent for a moment. He glanced at Wang Xiang's pocket and said, "If I remember correctly, you just bought a new phone a month ago. It's more than 3,000 yuan. Wang Xiang coldly snorted, "It's a new model. Can I buy a better one? Will you give me the money or not? If you don't want me to find a way to get the money." Wang Ming sighed in his heart. He reached out his pocket and handed over the salary he just received. He was clear that his younger brother didn't want to buy a new phone. He definitely wanted to eat, drink, and have fun. "I'm taking a leave today." Wang Xiang threw these words and prepared to leave with the money. At this moment, a Toyota Prado SUV was parked in front of the garage. After getting off, Tan Xiu saw Wang Ming standing at the garage's door. Wang Ming's photo was on the list given to him by Yuan Jingxian. "Wang Ming." Tan Xiu walked over and called out. Wang Ming indifferently glanced at Tan Xiu and said, "I am. For you." Tan Xiu said, "I'm looking for you. I know your past, so I want you to work for me. I won't treat you badly." Wang Xiang, who was about to leave, heard Tan Xiu's words. His eyes suddenly lit up and he quickly asked, "What kind of treatment can you give my big brother? How much a month?" "Shut up," Wang Ming shouted in a low voice. Wang Xiang snorted with dissatisfaction. "Big brother, how much money do we get as a mechanic here? It's not even enough for me to drink a few times. In any case, you're a soldier who carried a gun. Can't you have some ambition? Even if you don't want to live a good life, I still want to live a good life." Tan Xiu looked at Wang Xiang and lightly said, "So you're that good-for-nothing little brother of his. However, what you said makes sense. It's hard to achieve great things by sticking to the rules. Even if you've been a soldier and carried a gun, killed people and seen blood, you can't live in the past. You must look backward in life." Wang Ming frowned deeply. He stared at Tan Xiu and asked in a heavy voice, "Who are you?" Tan Xiu calmly said, "A businessman. A man who can give you a different life. How about we talk about the conditions?" Wang Ming shook his head indifferently and lightly said, "No matter what conditions you raise, I won't agree to your request and I won't work for you. Just leave." Tan Xiu pondered and said, "I originally thought that a real soldier knows how to grasp and cherish the opportunity. I thought that they are mature, steady, meticulous, and have a very good vision and bearing. But you don't even want to listen to my conditions, which proves that you don't have any lofty ambitions. You've been blinded by your past glory. To put it bluntly, you have pride in your bones, but you do extreme and stupid things." "What do you know?" Wang Ming sneered. With a bit of disappointment on his face, Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "I really don't know. I originally had some expectations for you, but now I'm full of disappointment. It seems I don't need to look for the legendary wolf head anymore. To be able to train someone like you, he must be a waste." Blue veins protruded on Wang Ming's forehead as he glared at Tan Xiu and shouted, "Shut up! Wolf head is not someone you can humiliate." Tan Xiu sneered, "What? I said you're a waste and you feel wronged? Humiliated? Do you think you deserve it?" Chapter 179. A cold glint flashed in Wang Ming's eyes as he took a step forward and said in an awe-inspiring tone, "You can humiliate me, but if you dare to humiliate our wolf head again, do you believe that I won't cripple you?" "Idiot." Tan Xiu sneered and said, "It's a society ruled by law now. Do you think you'll have a good time if you cripple me? What's more, you're not even comparable to an ant in my eyes. You want to cripple me with your mediocre skills? What an international joke." At this moment, Scarblade Chang, who was originally staying in the driver's seat of the Toyota Prado, heard the quarrel outside and quickly rushed over. He looked at the furious Wang Ming, and although he knew that Tan Xiu didn't need his protection, he still glared at him and shouted angrily, "What are you doing? You dare to be arrogant in front of my boss? Believe it or not, I will whip you to death." Wang Xiang's expression suddenly moved as a bit of shock was revealed in his eyes. He looked at Scarblade Chang and called out, You are Brother Chang? Brother Chang's Scar?" Scarblade Chang's brows pricked as he glanced at Wang Xiang and said, "Do you know me?" Wang Xiang didn't dare to confirm Scarblade Chang's identity just now. But now that he heard Scarblade Chang personally admit it, a panicked expression immediately appeared on his face. He pulled Wang Ming and then said with an obsequious smile, "Brother Chang, I never thought it would really be you. I've met you with my boss before, Kidnapper Lu. He's my boss. It was all a misunderstanding just now. My brother didn't know that he was your boss. I persuaded my brother to let him work for your boss." Scarblade Chang said, "So you are Kidnapper Lu's man. That kid hasn't been well behaved recently. I heard that he's going to be out of luck soon. Since my boss has taken a liking to your brother, I'll give you a heads up. Hurry up and run, otherwise—" Wang Xiang turned pale and hurriedly asked, "Brother Chang, what do you mean? Can you be more specific?" Scarblade Chang sneered and said, "Kidnapper Lu has a mistress who is secretly making some powder. That thing can cost his life. It was said that Kidnapper Lu's underlings were secretly involved. I have some connections in the police station. When I was drinking with a few friends, I heard them mention it." Wang Xiang's body trembled. He understood the meaning behind Scarblade Chang's words. If Kidnapper Lu's mistress was unlucky, then all the shitty things that Kidnapper Lu had done in the past would definitely be exposed. He and his brothers had also done bad things with Kidnapper Lu. Tan Xiu glanced at Scarblade Chang and lightly said, "All right, don't scare him." Originally, he thought that the people who retired from the army were all men, but he didn't expect them to be good-for-nothings. "Let's go." Seeing that Tan Xiu was turning to leave, Wang Ming immediately shouted in a deep voice. Tan Xiu came back to his senses and sneered, "What? Do you want to practice?" Wang Ming said disdainfully, "With your physique? You think you're fit to spar with me? I'm just warning you, no matter who you are, if you dare to humiliate Wolfhead again, I'll make you pay the price." Tan Xiu crooked his finger and sneered, "I'll give you this chance. Let's spar. If I win, you'll come with me and tell me the whereabouts of Wolfhead. If I lose, not only will I not hit your brother when he's down, I won't let him stay in prison for the rest of his life. I'll even let him live a good life. How about it? Won't hit him when he's down? Won't let him stay in prison for the rest of his life? Wang Ming instantly understood the hidden meaning of Tan Xiu's words. He angrily shouted, "Are you threatening me? You're really despicable and shameless." "There's a problem in your words, though," said Tang Xiu indifferently. "Although you're from the special forces, you're not a true elite." "But that's right, those soldiers who are always carrying out secret missions abroad and hovering on the line of life and death every day are the true elites, the real soldiers. Let's cut the crap. Do you dare to gamble with me or not? It's up to you." Wang Ming shook his head and said, "I can promise you that if I lose, I'll work for you later. But I can't tell you the whereabouts of Wolfhead. Also, I won't do anything that violates the law." "Coward!" Tan Xiu ridiculed him as he turned around and walked toward the off-road vehicle. Wang Ming clenched his fists tightly as anger flashed in his eyes. After Tan Xiu took 3 or 4 steps, he instantly strode forward and blocked Tan Xiu's path in just 2 breaths. A swift and fierce kick instantly whipped toward Tan Xiu's cheek. "Oomph!" Tan Xiu moved as fast as lightning, accurately grabbing Wang Ming's ankle. His palm pulled inward, and his arm instantly hit Wang Ming's chest. Tan Xiu's toes lightly hooked Wang Ming's ankle and instantly knocked him to the ground. "Is this your level?" Tan Xiu didn't attack again, but asked in disdain. Wang Ming was awed by Tan Xiu's strength, but the humiliation and anger in his heart were even more intense. He leaped up from the ground like a carp and fiercely punched toward Tan Xiu. "Pa!" Tan Xiu reached out to grab Wang Ming's fist. After shaking his head, he kicked Wang Ming's chest and watched him fly backward. Then, he said indifferently, "The two of us aren't on the same level. You may have some ability in front of ordinary people, but you're not even an ant in front of me. If it wasn't for the fact that I'm short of manpower, I wouldn't even look at you." Wang Ming was thoroughly shaken. The pain in his chest made him sober. What this young man said was right. Compared to him, he was simply not even an ant. He had encountered countless opponents in his life, but he had never lost so miserably, nor had he ever met such a strong expert. In his heart, Wolfhead was very strong. Even 3 to 5 of him together wouldn't be Wolfhead's match. But he was sure that even Wolfhead couldn't make him lose the ability to fight back. This young man in front of him was more terrifying than Wolfhead. "Who the hell are you?" Wang Ming clutched his chest as he looked straight at Tan Xiu and asked. Tan Xiu said, "If you want to know who I am, then follow me and work for me. In addition, I never take the initiative to touch those who violate the law. But if there are people who violate the law and offend me, I won't be lenient. What I need is loyalty and resolute obedience to my orders." At the side, Wang Xiang stood beside Scarblade Chang. He could see that Tan Xiu didn't use too much force. Although he was worried about his big brother, he still refrained from helping. However, he was very shocked inwardly because he knew his big brother Wang Ming's skill. A few days ago, he and several of his brothers were besieged by a group of gangsters. His big brother alone beat down more than a dozen gangsters armed with knives. Although he also suffered some superficial wounds. Such a powerful big brother was beaten by this young man in front of him without any strength to fight back. How strong was this young man? "Big brother Chang, what does your boss do? How can he be so powerful?" Wang Xiang lowered his voice and asked. Scarblade Chang lightly glanced at him and said, "I don't know." "You don't know?" Wang Xiang was surprised. "How can you not know? You're his subordinate, how can you not know what he does?" "Big brother Chang, are you joking?" Scarblade Chang apathetically said, "I really don't know. I only know that the boss is very powerful and rich. He's the boss of a large group. As for the rest, I don't know anything." Wang Xiang was surprised. "Then you still dare to follow him?" Scarblade Chang squinted his eyes and lightly said, "Boss is generous and a good man. Following him will give you a promising future." The answer made Wang Xiang dumbfounded. Tan Xiu looked at Wang Ming and calmly said, "You don't need to rush to answer me. I don't need 1 or 2 people. I need a team. If you agree, bring Wolfhead to Star City and find me. I live in Southgate Town. Remember, you only have 3 days. After 3 days, even if you come, I won't accept you." After saying that, he turned around and walked toward the Toyota Prado. The moment he got on the car, he suddenly stopped, turned his head and spoke again. "I haven't said my conditions yet. If you follow me, I'll let your brother live a peaceful life. I can also guarantee the future of the two of you." The off-road vehicle started. Wang Ming and Wang Xiang, the two brothers, looked at the gradually fading off-road vehicle with a complex expression. Wang Xiang didn't care about Tan Xiu's words, but Wang Ming fell into silence. His heart was constantly struggling. He was only in his 30s and was used to drinking blood at gunpoint. It was really hard for him to live like an ordinary person's life year after year. He had been holding it in for the past few months. But the feeling of living like a year was absolutely torturous. Should I contact Wolfhead? What's the origin of that young man? Wang Ming's complexion constantly changed. Wang Xiang used his elbow to touch Wang Ming and said, "Big brother, I can assure you that if we follow that big boss, we'll definitely be able to eat and drink well in the future. I know Scarblade Chang. He's a big shot in the underworld of Zhongbei City. Even he has followed that person. I think we can give it a try." "Shut up," Wang Ming snapped in a low voice. Wang Xiang said with dissatisfaction, "Big brother, look at our current poor appearance. We're dirty and our income is pitiful. Don't tell me you don't want to live a decent life in the future? Besides, I'm still young, so it's fine. But you're already in your 30s, yet you don't even have a wife. Do you want me to be like you, still a bachelor in my 30s? This, Wang Ming hesitated. He knew that what his brother said was right. But he didn't know the origin of that young man. Just based on the opposite party's provocation and promise, as well as his powerful martial arts foundation, he wanted to follow him? "Big brother, if you don't agree, I'll go to Dad and Mom's grave to complain." Wang Xiang glared at Wang Ming and shouted. Wang Ming was silent for a moment. Then he slowly said, "Give me some time. I'll go to Star City after I think about it. Even if I want to work with him later, I must clearly investigate his background." "All right, I'll go with you." Wang Xiang was overjoyed and said without hesitation. Wang Ming looked at him coldly and shook his head, saying, "You're not allowed to go. I'll find some comrades in arms to go with me. You obediently stay in Zhongbei City. If I find out that you don't listen to me, I won't take you with me even if I have a rich boss in the future." You. Chapter 180. Star City Train Station. Ouyang Lulu was wearing a black leather coat and a black cap. Her beautiful face was partially covered by a pair of big black sunglasses. She crossed her arms and leaned on the pillar near the exit, watching the tourists coming out one after another. In her heart, she was secretly calculating how to make Tan Xiu go back to Jingmen Island with her. A few days ago, ever since her mother, whom she had not seen all year round, returned home, she had been living at home. Even when chatting with her yesterday, her mother learned from her that Tan Xiu had gone to the Prime Forest mountain range for an adventure, so she took the initiative to invite Tan Xiu to their home as a guest. It just so happened. She knew that Tan Xiu had just finished his college entrance test and that Tan Xiu would return to Star City today. Therefore, after she hurriedly arrived, she directly ran from the airport to the train station. This great aunt personally came to Star City to invite him. If he dares to refuse, I'll definitely bite him a few times. As Ouyang Lulu thought about it, a trace of a smile appeared on the corner of her mouth. Suddenly, as she walked out of the station's exit, she saw Tang Xiu's figure in the crowd. Her eyes immediately lit up and she quickly greeted him. "Why are you here?" Tan Xiu looked at the cool Ouyang Lulu. Even though half of her face was covered by the cap and big sunglasses, he could still recognize her at a glance. Ouyang Lulu took off her sunglasses, revealing her devastatingly beautiful face that could cause the downfall of a nation. A curved arc was outlined on the corner of her mouth as she said with a charming smile, "Of course, I'm here to welcome you. How is it? Isn't it a big surprise?" "It's indeed a surprise," said Tan Xiu. "I'm thinking whether I should take a taxi or a bus home." The smile on Ouyang Lulu's face froze. She lifted her foot and kicked Tan Xiu's calf as she angrily said, "You still want me to be your coachman?" Tan Xiu didn't dodge, nor did he feel any pain. He looked at Ouyang Lulu with a beaming smile and said, "It's definitely your honor to be my coachman. A lot of people cry and shout to be my coachman, but I disdain them. Let's go. A lot of people are looking at you." Ouyang Lulu turned her head and looked around. Indeed, she found that a lot of tourists were looking at her with amazement. However, she also noticed Scarblade Chong behind Tan Xiu. She raised her brows and asked, "Tan Xiu, who is he?" Tan Xiu turned his head and looked at the dumbfounded Scarblade Chong, who was obviously fascinated by Ouyang Lulu. Then he said with a faint smile, "He's a talent I bumped into in Songbei. Bring him back to Star City and make him work for me." Scarblade Chong desperately swallowed a mouthful of saliva as his eyes reluctantly moved away from Ouyang Lulu's face. He was a dignified man who was also quite famous in Songbei City. But at this moment he was defeated by Ouyang Lulu's gaze, causing a bit of embarrassment to appear on his face. If said, previously he was in awe of Tan Xiu because of Tan Xiu's strength and wealth. At this moment, his respect had turned into worship. He had seen countless women, but he had never seen such a beautiful girl. And this girl actually ran to the train station to pick up her boss. Even this boss of his really treated her as a coachman. Outside an upscale hotel in Star City, Tan Xiu sent Scarblade Chong off the car and told him to stay here for a few nights. He also told him that he would look for him tomorrow. After that, Ouyang Lulu drove him to Southgate Town. On the road, Tan Xiu dialed Chen Zhizhong and Kong Xiao's number and told them to come to Southgate Town. He had a fruitful harvest in this adventure. Just as he got off the train, he received a text message reminding him that 2.5 billion had been transferred to his account. He had already made arrangements for this money in his heart. In the villa's courtyard in Southgate Town, Ouyang Lulu parked the car in the parking space and curiously said, "This is your house? It's quite stylish." Tan Xiu opened the trunk and took out a big black travel bag from the inside. Then he said, "This villa is a gift from Long Zhengyu." Ouyang Lulu said with a smile, "Long Zhengyu has a good vision. The rate of return on investment is absolutely great. I heard you did him a big favor, so his company can make a fortune." Tan Xiu smiled and didn't answer the topic. After entering the villa, Tan Xiu saw Mu Qingping busy in the kitchen. He directly came to the kitchen door and said, "Big sis Mu, there will be guests at home tonight. Prepare more dishes." "All right." Upon seeing Tan Xiu coming back, Mu Qingping immediately smiled. When she saw Ouyang Lulu behind Tan Xiu, she said with a smile, "It turns out to be Miss Ouyang. Welcome." Ouyang Lulu said with a smile, "Hello, big sis Mu. How come I don't see little Enin?" Mu Qingping said, "She's in the conference room. Looking at the time, it's almost over." Tan Xiu looked at Ouyang Lulu entering the kitchen and no longer spoke. Returning to the study room on the second floor, he took out 2 sky sandstones from inside. Then, he emptied a bookshelf and put the 2 sky sandstones on it. "I'm missing a safe." Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and then made a decision in his heart. He went back to the first floor. Ouyang Lulu was still in the kitchen, helping Mu Qingping cook. But Chen Zhizhong was already waiting in the living room. "Master." Ever since Chen Zhizhong acknowledged Tan Xiu as his master, he was extremely respectful to him. Tan Xiu waved his hand, motioning him to sit on the sofa and said, "Give me your bank account number. I've got some money recently, so I'll give you a part first." Chen Zhizhong quickly said, "Master, this disciple is filial to you. How can I take it back? Besides, I'm not short of money recently." Tan Xiu said, "I'll give you the money. I'll leave some for emergencies. Aren't you running a medicinal herb business? Just give me more medicinal herbs later. I'll give you a list of medicinal herbs. Try to get as many medicinal herbs as you can. Wait for me to refine a medicinal pill, it will also have an effect on you." "Medicinal pill?" Chen Zhizhong's eyes lit up and immediately said respectfully, "Thank you, master." Subsequently, Tan Xiu transferred 2 billion yuan to Chen Zhizhong's account through his mobile phone. He then asked, "How's your cultivation recently? Has all the true qi in your body been transformed into true essence?" Chen Zhizhong said, "All of it has been transformed. Also, I've made some progress recently because I've been using medicinal herbs to make soup. Master, my current strength is at least twice as strong as before. Tan Xiao said with a smile, your cultivation is barely at the threshold of the immortal cultivation realm. There's still a long way to go in the future. When you reach the golden core stage, it can barely be regarded as a minor accomplishment. And when you reach the nascent soul stage, it can barely be regarded as a great accomplishment. Only when you break through to the immortal stage can you meet my minimum requirements. Chen Zhizhong revealed a yearning look and firmly said, Master, this disciple will definitely cultivate according to your requirements and will never dare to neglect it. I'll go all out to find the medicinal herbs you need. Ring. Chen Zhizhong's mobile phone rang. When he took it out and saw the remittance notification, he looked up at Tan Xiao and said in surprise, You transferred 2 billion to my account? Yes, you received it so quickly? Tan Xiao said. Chen Zhizhong was shocked and said, I haven't received it yet, but I have a remittance notification here. It should be in the account tomorrow. Master, what did you do? How did you get so much money in such a short time? I sold something to these two cultivators, Tan Xiao said lightly. Chen Zhizhong was shocked and asked, What did you sell? It's actually worth so much money? It's nothing good. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, An immortal cultivation technique and a beast-taming art. It's a pity that these two are too poor and can only take out a few billion at most. Otherwise, I would have asked for more. A few billion? Too poor? Chen Zhizhong could only force a wry smile inwardly. He had a net worth of tens of billions, yet in Tan Xiao's eyes, he might not necessarily be considered as well off. 10 minutes later, Kong Xia rushed to the villa and saw that aside from Tan Xiao, Chen Zhizhong was also in the villa's hall. She nodded to Chen Zhizhong and then looked at Tan Xiao and said, Is there something you need from me, boss? Isn't the company short on money? Tan Xiao said, I got some money recently, so I'll transfer 300 million to you. You can use it for the time being. We'll talk about it if it's not enough. Kong Xia was pleasantly surprised and said, 300 million? That's great. Tan Xiao snappily said, It's not easy for me to make money, so you gotta save it for me. Arrange the company's affairs as soon as possible and strive to get on the right track as soon as possible. Kong Xia said with a smile, Boss, with your 300 million, I guarantee that our company's preliminary plan will be fully implemented before September 1st. Also, I've contacted several banks in Star City. As long as we can prove our company's strength, we should be able to get a large loan. Tan Xiao frowned and said, Getting a loan from the banks? Do we still need a loan from the banks? Kong Xia nodded and said, According to the business plan I've formulated and the estimated funds needed, I'm afraid we'll need at least 3 billion. Our company's current funds are far from this amount. Therefore, we need a loan from the banks to implement our plan. Tan Xiao said, I'll leave this matter to you. Also, are you very busy now? Kong Xia said, I'm very busy. I'm almost dizzy from being so busy. Tan Xiao said, Then forget it. I originally had a project that I wanted to give to you. But seeing that you're too busy, I'll find someone else. Stay here for dinner tonight. You can go and do your work after dinner. Kong Xia quickly said, Boss, you still have a project? What project? It was a good project. She would never push it out. For example, the healthcare products, which obviously had huge profits. Even if it was hard and tiring, she was willing to do it. Furthermore, she now worshipped Tan Xiao very much. She believed that Tan Xiao's project would definitely be very good. Tan Xiao said, Build a winery and sell the wine. Kong Xia stared blankly for a moment and immediately asked, Boss, do you have the recipe for the wine? How does it taste like? Tan Xiao said, I do have the recipe, and it's absolutely a fine wine. Therefore, I'm going to set the position of the wine as the highest grade in the world. The highest grade in the world? Kong Xia liked listening to Tan Xiao's words the most. Her beautiful eyes turned into crescent moons as she said, Boss, let's put the winery under our magnificent Tang Corporation's name. I can also set up a subsidiary company. I'll take control of the overall situation and leave the trivial matters to the people below. Chapter 181. Looking at Kong Xia's high-spirited and happy expression, Tang Xiao asked with an astonished expression, Aren't you too busy to handle it? Time is squeezed out, said Kang Xia. It's no problem to squeeze some time. Don't tire yourself. Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. Don't worry, boss. I know what I'm doing, said Kang Xia with high fighting spirit. I'll take care of our business under the condition that I'm healthy. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and slowly asked, Can I ask a personal question? What personal question? Kang Xia was confused. You ask? I've never asked about your family. Who else is there in your family? Asked Tan Xiu. Kang Xia stared blankly for a moment before a gloomy expression flashed in her eyes. She shook her head and said, My foster parents are Americans. They died in a plane crash a few years ago. I have a maternal grandmother who married a foreign old man. I only visit her once a year. Tan Xiu nodded and made a decision in his heart, saying, I'll teach you a set of cultivation technique to ensure your health. But you must remember that this set of cultivation technique can only be practiced by yourself and must not be passed on to others. You're not allowed to tell anyone that you're a cultivator. A set of cultivation technique? Are you kidding me, boss? Kang Xia was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh. Do you think we're still in ancient times? Cultivating true qi and becoming a martial arts expert? Tan Xiu raised his brows. His body instantly appeared at Kang Xia's side. With a lightning-fast movement, he grabbed Kang Xia's shoulder and threw her into the air. With a twist of his wrist, Kang Xia also spun in the air. She screamed, but Tan Xiu ignored her. As he strode forward, he appeared outside the villa's courtyard with Kang Xia. Bam! Kang Xia was put down by Tan Xiu. Her body staggered and fell to the ground. Kang Xia was dizzy from the fall, but she didn't have the slightest anger. Instead, she was shocked. Her eyes looked at the surrounding scene and her delicate body slightly trembled. She was scared. That's right. The situation just now was like a dream. If she hadn't experienced it herself, she wouldn't have believed it at all. Tan Xiu said indifferently, Do you see the scene outside this courtyard? I saw it. Kang Xia nodded blankly. Tan Xiu once again grabbed Kang Xia's shoulder and increased his speed to the limit. In just 2 breaths, they had returned to the villa's hall and even threw Kang Xia back to the sofa. Now do you believe that there are martial arts masters in this world? Kang Xia sat up and looked around. There was a bit of fear in her eyes. After a long while, she said with a dumbfounded expression, Boss, you took me to the Rising Dragon Martial School to challenge them. I knew that you're a martial arts expert. But I didn't expect you to be so powerful. I think that even martial arts masters can't do what you did. Tan Xiu laughed and said, You have good taste. I am indeed not a martial arts expert, but an immortal cultivator. You might not have seen such people in real life, but you must have watched xianxia dramas or movies. A real immortal cultivator is even more powerful than those in the movies. They can easily call the wind and summon the rain, and even ride the flying sword. A real powerhouse can even pick the stars and chase the moon, and traverse the starry sky unhindered. Immortals? Kang Xia exclaimed in disbelief. Tan Xiu nodded and said, That's right. It's not difficult to become an immortal. I'll teach you a cultivation technique. If you practice it well, you may be able to ascend to the immortal world. With a shocked expression, Kang Xia asked, Boss, is there really an immortal world mentioned in the fairy tales in this world? Tan Xiu said with a smile, The immortal world in the fairy tales is really too small. When you become an immortal one day, you'll be able to see how magnificent the real immortal world is. I'll teach it to you after dinner. Remember, you must never mention this to anyone later. Kang Xia nodded. Suddenly, her expression moved as she asked in a whisper, Boss, you just asked me about my family. You're afraid that I'll tell my friends and relatives, right? Tan Xiu said lightly, I want you to be my real subordinate, not my hired employee. I can assure you that your world will expand infinitely if you follow me. Even if you follow me in the future, it won't be a problem for you to travel in the vast universe. Kang Xia gulped down her saliva and said with a short breath, Boss, can you teach it to Andy as well? She has been following me for many years and is absolutely trustworthy. Furthermore, her background is even worse than mine. She has no family. Apart from me and Jack, she doesn't even have any friends. Andy? Tan Xiao recalled the beautiful angel-like girl. He slowly nodded and said, "Call her and tell her to come here." He didn't ask about Andy's situation in detail even though he heard that she had lived in the country with her parents for a few years. But the weather was unpredictable, just like people had their ups and downs. Since Kang Xia said that Andy was an orphan, it was likely that her parents had encountered some mishaps. Chen Zhizhong quietly sat at the side with a smile hanging on the corner of his mouth. He was very happy that Tan Xiao had developed Kang Xia as his direct subordinate. After all, Kang Xia was very powerful and definitely a proud daughter of heaven in the business field. If she could work hard for Tan Xiao in the future, he believed that Tan Xiao would be able to make a lot of money and obtain a steady stream of cultivation resources. Suddenly, his expression moved as he glanced at the mobile screen and said, "Master, how about I invest in the winery you want to set up? You're in the medicinal herbs business. Why would you invest in a winery?" Tan Xiao said. Chen Zhizhong forced a smile and said, "Actually, my endless virtue pharmaceutical has already developed to the limit. I've been wanting to expand to other fields for a long time, but I haven't been able to find a suitable investment target. This is also the reason why I have so much spare money. If I don't invest in your winery, I'm afraid I'll have to invest in other projects." Tan Xiao thought for a moment before he slowly nodded and said, "I'll give you 500 million yuan and 10% of the shares. You don't need to worry about the management since I've already found a director. Just wait for the dividends every year. As for your spare money, it's best to contact Long Zhengyu if you're interested. I have some business cooperation with him in real estate, and I believe we can make a lot of money." Originally, Tan Xiao didn't intend to let others intervene in his winery's business. After all, he was very optimistic about the winery's business. However, he was short of money at the moment. If Chen Zhizhong were to invest, it wouldn't be a big deal to give him some shares. After all, he was his disciple in name, and this was called keeping the goodies within the family. Chen Zhizhong was overjoyed. He found that it was really worth it to worship Tan Xiao as his master. Not only could he enter the ranks of immortal cultivators, but he could also have some gains in business. Without hesitation, he nodded and said, "I'll contact Long Zhengyu when I get back." Tan Xiao said, "You can directly contact Kang Xia about the business later. I have too many things to deal with, so I don't have time to manage the business." At this moment, Ouyang Lulu, wearing an apron, came out of the kitchen. After seeing Chen Zhizhong, her eyes slightly lit up. After all, she often saw Chen Zhizhong's interviews in financial magazines. However, when she saw Kang Xia, her brows slightly pricked. She was a beauty, an absolute beauty. But she had to admit that Kang Xia, whether it was her figure, appearance, or temperament, she didn't lose to her. A few days ago, she heard that Tan Xiao took Kang Xia as his own and even handed over the newly established company to Kang Xia to manage. But this was the first time she met Kang Xia. "Boss, who is this?" Kang Xia looked at Ouyang Lulu, especially when she saw her wearing an apron. She didn't know why, but a very awkward feeling arose inside her heart. Tan Xiao introduced, "She's Ouyang Lulu, the one who doesn't engage in proper business in Jingmen Island. She's also my friend. Lulu, she's Kang Xia, my right-hand woman." Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiao snappily. If it weren't for Tan Xiao calling her my friend and calling her Lulu, she would have already quit long ago. However, even though she was happy inside, she still pretended to be dissatisfied and snorted, "What do you mean by not engaging in proper business? My Paradise Club is also a proper business, okay? Opening a casino is a proper business." Tan Xiao was surprised. "Of course it's a proper business," said Ouyang Lulu. "Every time there's a gambling house, it's always on the high seas, so it doesn't violate any country's laws, does it? Besides, take a look at Treasure Island. Gambling is legal there." Tan Xiao secretly shook his head. He was too lazy to refute Ouyang Lulu's sophistry. On the contrary, Kang Xia had a trace of curiosity towards Ouyang Lulu after hearing Tan Xiao's explanation. "Hello, Miss Ouyang." "Hello, Chief Kang." It was the first time for the two women to shake hands, but there was a trace of strange thoughts in their minds. The meal was served. Gu Yin also finished her tutoring. under Tan Xiu's invitation, the tutoring teacher also stayed to have a meal together and conveniently inquired about Gu Yin's progress in her study. Mr. Tang, Gu Yin is very smart and has a very good memory. It's the first time I've seen her comprehension ability. The second grade course will end in 2 days. Me and the other 2 teachers have already begun to prepare for the third grade's curriculum. However, the fourth, fifth, and sixth grades curriculum won't be taught by the 3 of us. A forced smile was revealed on the middle-aged female teacher's face as she said, "It's not that we can't teach the 4th grade's curriculum and above. It's just that we've reached our limit and it's too tiring." "It's all right," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "I'll be satisfied as long as the following teachers are as good as you." Ouyang Lulu looked at the 2 of them and said with astonishment, "The teacher's lesson preparation speed can't keep up with the student's learning speed? What kind of fallacy is this?" The teacher forced a smile and said, "It's because her learning speed is too fast. With her current learning speed, I'm afraid she'll be able to finish all the courses from the 2nd grade to the 6th grade before September 1st if she keeps up with it." Ouyang Lulu looked at Gu Yin with an incredulous expression and said with amazement, "She hasn't finished the 2nd grade's curriculum yet, right? How can she finish learning all the contents of the other 4 grades in the next 2 or 3 months? Even a child prodigy wouldn't be able to do it, right?" Chapter 182. Gu Yin's teacher helplessly said, "A child prodigy can't do it, but Gu Yin can. I've been engaged in education for more than 20 years and have seen a lot of gifted and intelligent students. But the most powerful one is only 1/10 of her. Teacher Huang, you don't need to praise her," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "Be careful, she might become arrogant and complacent." "I won't be arrogant and complacent, master." Gu Yin grinned and said, "Master? Master, is she your disciple?" Chen Zhizhong was astonished. "She's my direct disciple." Tan Xiu nodded. "You can call her junior sister later." Chen Zhizhong gulped down his saliva and looked at Gu Yin in shock, unable to speak for a long time. When he was apprenticed, Tan Xiu had yet to accept a disciple. Yet now, he unexpectedly had a junior sister? Furthermore, he was keenly aware of the meaning of direct disciple. He was Tan Xiu's in-name disciple, while this little girl in front of him was Tan Xiu's direct disciple. The gap between their identities was quite big. Chen Zhizhong hesitated for a moment before he looked at Gu Yin and nodded. "Junior sister, this is the first time we meet. This senior brother didn't know about your existence before, so I didn't prepare a gift. I'll make it up to you next time." "Thank you, senior brother." Gu Yin giggled. Ouyang Lulu looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression and asked, "Tan Xiu, you've accepted so many disciples. What are you going to teach them?" "I have a lot of skills. As long as I can teach them, I'll teach them," said Tan Xiu calmly. "What? Do you also want to worship me as your master?" "I'm very strict in accepting disciples, and they must undergo a test. Only ghosts want to worship you as their master." Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes and snappily said. However, she realized that it was inappropriate just as she spoke. She quickly looked at Chen Zhizhong and said, "Chen, that's not what I meant. I was confused by this guy and spoke insincerely. Please don't take it to heart." Chen Zhizhong smiled and shook his head. He looked at Tan Xiu and Ouyang Lulu with a strange expression. The dinner was over. Chen Zhizhong and the teacher took their leave. Ouyang Lulu didn't want to stay in a hotel, so Tan Xiu asked Mu Qingping to pick a room for her. When only Kong Xia was left in the living room, Tan Xiu calmly said, "Come to my room. When Andy gets here, I'll teach you together." Kong Xia looked at Tan Xiu's clear eyes and nodded slightly. If it was any other man who asked her to follow him to his room, she would definitely turn around and leave. But Tan Xiu was different. From Tan Xiu's eyes, she could not see a trace of desire for love between a man and a woman. In fact, it was so clear that it made her secretly angry. Why was her charm ineffective against Tan Xiu? Room on the 2nd floor. After Kong Xia followed behind Tan Xiu, she was a bit surprised. In her opinion, a man's room was a mess, even worse than a pig's nest. However, Tan Xiu's room was exceptionally clean and tidy. The quilt was folded very neatly, and the things were arranged in an orderly manner. Even. She also asked about the faint scent of jasmine. Tan Xiu pointed to the sofa in the corner and said, "Take a seat first. Also, call Andy and ask her where she is. I'll take a shower and change my clothes." Alright. Kang Xia took out her mobile and watched as Tan Xiu took out his clothes from the cloakroom in the bedroom and then went to the bathroom. She could clearly hear the sound of the door being locked. He locked the door to guard against me? Kang Xia stared blankly. An expression of being at a loss whether to laugh or cry was revealed on her beautiful face. In any case, she was a great beauty. If it were any other man, perhaps they would have already pounced on her. But this outrageous boss of hers actually locked the door to guard against her. Am I a tigress? A female pervert who covets for his beauty? Kang Xia shook her head and dialed Andy's number. Knowing that Andy would arrive in Southgate Town in 10 minutes, Kang Xia put away her mobile and carefully looked at Tan Xiu's bedroom. Her eyes finally fell on the neat bed. A woman's heart was like a needle at the bottom of the sea. It was the first time she came to Tan Xiu's bedroom. Out of curiosity, she slowly walked to the bedside and carefully glanced at the bedding. To her satisfaction, Tan Xiu's bed didn't have a woman's long hair. Even Tan Xiu's short hair was nowhere to be found. He's a good man who knows his place. No, he should be a good boy. Kang Xia let out a faint smile as her eyes fell on the photo frame on the bedside table. It was a photo of Tan Xiu and a middle-aged woman. Knock, knock. The bedroom door was knocked as Ouyang Lulu came in. When she saw Kang Xia sitting on the edge of Tan Xiu's bed and holding the photo frame, she immediately frowned and said with a displeased expression, "If my guess is correct, this is Tan Xiu's bedroom, right? Why are you here?" Upon seeing the cold expression on Ouyang Lulu's face, Kang Xia also felt irritated and indifferently said, "Can't I be here?" Ouyang Lulu was angry, but she didn't know how to refute. She hesitated for a moment before she coldly snorted and asked, "Where's Tan Xiu? I'm looking for him." Kang Xia pointed to the bathroom door and said, "He's taking a bath." Ouyang Lulu stared and incredulously said, Could it be that you?" Kang Xia calmly said, "I want to, but he doesn't like women. The bathroom door is locked." Ouyang Lulu angrily shouted, "How can you be so shameless? Tan Xiu is your boss and you're his subordinate. This idea of yours is immoral." Kang Xia deliberately showed a surprised expression and asked, "What's wrong with the boss and his subordinate? Can't the boss and his subordinate be together?" Ouyang Lulu was speechless. She had a good impression of Tan Xiu, and she also understood the thoughts of her family. That was why she always showed the attitude of a little woman in front of Tan Xiu. But when he saw Kang Xia's appearance and listened to her words, Ouyang Lulu suddenly had a feeling that her man was being snatched away by another woman. She was wild by nature, so she directly kicked off her slippers and jumped onto Tan Xiu's bed. She even spread out the quilt and got in. She raised her chin and said, "It's absolutely impossible for you two to be together. Tan Xiu is mine. She will never be able to escape from me. Even if she stays in this bedroom, it should be me." Kang Xia's heart was also filled with anger. She originally didn't have that kind of intention toward Tan Xiu, but after seeing Ouyang Lulu's provocative look, most of her reason faded away in an instant. She directly took off her coat, only wearing a small vest, and said, "Then let's compete and see who can get him. Do you believe that I will go to the bathroom right now and take a bath with him?" "How dare you?" Ouyang Lulu instantly sat up straight and glared at Kang Xia. "Gotcha." The bathroom door was opened and Tan Xiu walked out. When he saw the two women in the room, he immediately revealed a confused look. In an instant, Kang Xia and Ouyang Lulu's faces turned red. Thick shyness rippled inside their hearts like spring water. This is really embarrassing. The two women secretly groaned inside, regretting that they shouldn't have competed with each other. Ouyang Lulu opened the quilt and jumped down from the bed. She suppressed the shyness inside her heart and pretended to be serious as she said, "Let me see if your bed is comfortable or not. It's not bad, but it's still lacking compared to the bed in the guest room." Kang Xia picked up her coat and awkwardly said, "It's a bit hot." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "The weather is really hot. The air conditioner remote control is in the bedside table. Take it and turn on the air conditioner." Ouyang why did you come to my bedroom? Ouyang Lulu glared at Kang Xia and then replied, I have something I want to talk to you about. What is it? Tan Xiu asked. It's a private matter. It's inconvenient for outsiders to be present, said Ouyang Lulu. Tan Xiu looked at her with an astonished expression and then said to Kang Xia, then go to the study room and wait for me. There's a mannequin on the desk and you can clearly remember the acupoints. If Andy comes, tell her to remember it clearly. Alright. Kang Xia rolled her eyes at Ouyang Lulu and then walked out of the door. Ouyang Lulu was confused and said, Tan Xiu, why did you tell her to look at the mannequin and remember the acupoints? I know you're a Chinese medicine practitioner. Could it be that this surnamed Kong has a strange disease and needs your treatment? And that Andy you mentioned, who is she? Tan Xiu frowned and pondered for a moment. Then he lied and said, Kang Xia has been working day and night, busy with the business. Her body is indeed not good. It's understandable for me to treat her. As for Andy, she's also one of the company's top executives and also needs to recuperate her body. Ouyang Lulu suddenly understood and a smile appeared on her face again. She said, You told Kang Xia to wait in your room to treat her? Of course. What else did you think? Tan Xiu said. Ouyang Lulu waved her hand and said with a smile, I thought that Kang Xia, that vixen, wanted to seduce you. You made me worry in vain. Tang Xiu rolled his eyes and snappily said, What are you worried about whether she'll seduce me or not? Hurry up and say it. What private matter do you want to talk to me about? Pig head, so stupid. After saying that, Ouyang Lulu secretly regretted it. What made her dumbfounded was that Tan Xiu unexpectedly didn't understand the meaning behind her words. She had seen men who didn't know how to flirt with women. But she had never seen a man who didn't know how to flirt with women. Don't tell me, he hasn't matured yet? Ouyang Lulu glanced at Tan Xiu's private parts with a strange expression. Her mouth couldn't help but twitch a few times. Sensing that Tan Xiu was looking at her, she quickly put away her wretched thoughts and said with a smile, It's actually not a big deal. I just wanted to ask you when you have time to go to Jingmen Island with me. What for? Tan Xiu asked with a confused expression. Ouyang Lulu said, My parents want to invite you to my house as a guest. They want me to be your lobbyist. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, Are you sick or what? I'm a Chinese medicine practitioner, I can treat you. I don't know your parents, so why would they invite me? On the way to Star City, Ouyang Lulu had long thought about the wording, so she said with a smile, Did you forget? Last time in the KTV, if it wasn't for you coming in time and saving me from those bad guys, I'm afraid my reputation would have been ruined. So, they want to thank you in person. Chapter 183. A wisp of morning light shone from the eastern sky. Tan Xiu got up very early today because he wanted to go to the driving school and find his mother to tell her about his matter. He believed that with his excellence, even if his mother found it difficult to accept it in a short time, she would still be happy for such an excellent son as long as she was given more time. After breakfast, Tan Xiu left the villa and walked out of the villa complex's gate. He nodded to the two security guards who saluted him and then walked to the roadside, quietly waiting for the arrival of a taxi. Honk honk, the car's horn sounded. Tan Xiu looked at the Porsche parked in front of him and found that it was Long Shuiyao sitting in the driver's seat. He immediately smiled and said, Are you going out? I'm going out to do something. Where are you going? Do you want me to give you a ride? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I'm going to find a driving school and take advantage of the summer vacation to get my driver's license. You go do your own thing. Don't worry about me. Long Shuiyao said with a smile, It's all right. I'm not in a hurry. Besides, there are very few taxis coming here. You need to go to the commercial street 1 kilometer away if you want to get a taxi early. Let's go. There's a big driving school near the place I'm going to. It's very good. Where are you going? Tan Xiu asked. To the tax bureau, said Long Shuiyao. Tan Xiu nodded. He opened the door and sat on the front seat. He smelled the jasmine fragrance floating in the car and looked at the lovely hanging ornaments inside, saying, I know your surname is Long, but I didn't expect you to be Long Zhengyu's cousin. I heard it from Long Zhengyu when I was drinking with him a few days ago. Long Shuiyao started the car and said with a smile while driving, I thought you already knew it. But if you need a driver's license, I have a way to help you get one directly. You don't need to go to the driving school every day. You can also go through the back door? Tan Xiao was surprised. Long Shuiao couldn't help laughing and said, "What do you mean by going through the back door? You just don't need to go to class and directly take the test. If you don't have the confidence, you can just find someone to take the test for you. As long as there are enough benefits, the examiners will turn a blind eye to it." What a sinful money society. Tan Xiao shook his head and sighed. If that's the case, then please help me find someone. I owe you one. To be honest, I do have a lot of things to do during the summer vacation, so I don't have much time to study. Long Shuiao said with a smile, "No problem. Then let's go to another driving school. I know someone there." "You arrange it." Tan Xiao nodded. Half an hour later, Tan Xiao and Long Shuiao came out of a driving school. Tan Xiao paid the registration fee and Long Shuiao helped him find the principal of the driving school. As for the following matters, he would come to class when he had time. If he didn't need to come. The driving school would inform him when it was time for the test. "All right, I've troubled you this time. I'll treat you to a meal when I have time," Tan Xiao said. Long Shuiao said with a tender smile, "You're my cousin's friend, so you don't need to be polite with me. You can have a meal anytime. I'm very free." Tan Xiao thought for a moment and said, "Tomorrow. I'll look for you tomorrow." Long Shuiao picked up her mobile, shook it and said, "Then I'll wait for your call." Tan Xiao remembered Long Shuiao's phone number and casually stopped a taxi in front of the driving school's entrance. Calculating the time, his mother should have arrived at the restaurant at this time. Sure enough, when Tan Xiao arrived, he saw his mother and several waiters setting up the tables and chairs. He could see them chatting and laughing, chatting happily. "Mom," Tan Xiao called out. Su Lingyun turned around. After seeing Tan Xiao, she was immediately pleasantly surprised and said, "Xiao, you've come back from your trip. How was it? Did you have a good time outside?" Tan Xiao said, "Not bad. Mom, let Ban's Ho and the others take care of the restaurant's business today. I'm going to take you to a place." "Where are you going to take me?" Su Lingyun asked with a puzzled expression. Tan Xiao said with a faint smile, "Haven't you always felt that I've become mysterious recently? I'll tell you the answer today." Su Lingyun hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, "Then, let's go." Southgate Town. When Tan Xiao and Su Lingyun got off the taxi, Su Lingyun looked at the Southgate Town's entrance and said with some timidity, "Xiao, why did you take me here? I know this place. It's Southgate Town. The advertisement said that this is the most high-end villa area in the whole journey. People who can live here are either rich or respectable. Look at the security guards at the entrance, they're just like policemen. Let's go. Otherwise, others will drive us away." Tan Xiao smiled as he pulled Su Lingyun's hand and walked toward the entrance. The two security guards at the entrance saluted Tan Xiao. The two security guards at the entrance also stood up. Su Lingyun looked at the security guards with an astonished expression and asked curiously, "Xiao, they seem to know you? Have you been here before?" Tan Xiao said with a smile, "Of course I've been here before. I've been living here for some time. Let's go. I know you're very surprised. I'll tell you everything in detail when we arrive at our home." Here? Su Lingyun was scared by Tan Xiao's words. If there was a home here, how much would it cost to buy a villa? Along the way, the patrolling security guards constantly saluted Tan Xiao and Su Lingyun. The property management office's people also greeted Tan Xiao respectfully. Su Lingyun had never seen such a scene. She was so shocked that she was in a trance. Only when she followed Tan Xiao to the villa's entrance did she wake up as if she had just woken up from a dream. Looking at the magnificent villa with an excellent location and an extremely beautiful environment, Su Lingyun subconsciously grabbed Tan Xiao's arm and whispered, "Xiao, you're not joking with me, are you? Even when your uncle was the richest, he couldn't afford such a big villa." Tan Xiao said with a smile, "Mom, you'll know after you come in with me." Tan Xiao pulled Su Lingyun into the villa's entrance and went straight to the villa's hall. Seeing that Mu Qingping was about to go out, he said, "Big sis Mu, let me introduce you. This is my mother's first time coming here. Mom, she's Big sis Mu, our housekeeper." Her daughter is my apprentice. Housekeeper? Apprentice? Su Lingyun was dumbfounded. She had been working hard all her life. She never thought that she would be able to afford a housekeeper in her lifetime. And that apprentice, what was she doing? Mu Qingping looked at Su Lingyun a few times and said with a smile, "Hello, I've seen your group photo in Tan Xiu's bedroom. You can call me Little Ping." Because of her age, Mu Qingping didn't know how to address Su Lingyun. After all, Su Lingyun was not much older than her. She was afraid that she was less than 10 years old. Her daughter was Tan Xiu's apprentice. Calling her big sis would be too low in seniority, and calling her auntie would be inappropriate. Su Lingyun blankly looked at Mu Qingping and then looked at Tan Xiu. After a long while, she said, "Xiu, Mom still can't accept it. Tell me, what the hell is going on?" Tan Xiu pulled Su Lingyun and walked around the villa. Then he returned to the living room and sat down, saying, "Mom, I'm not only studying recently, but also doing some business. Don't be anxious, the college entrance test is over. I can assure you that my studies have not been delayed." Su Lingyun was surprised. Doing business? What kind of business? Xiu, we can't do anything that violates the law. Tan Xiu said with a forced smile, "Mom, do you think I'm that kind of person? I have a lot of businesses, including cosmetics and healthcare products. As for the capital, I got it from drawing architectural designs for others. I've been hiding it from you because I'm afraid that you'll worry about my studies. The college entrance test scores will come out soon, and I guarantee that I'll be admitted to a key university." Su Lingyun was confused. "You can draw architectural designs? How come I don't know about it?" Tan Xiu said, "It's a hobby after school, just like how I understand Chinese medicine." Su Lingyun was silent. Her endurance was not strong. She couldn't recover from what her son had seen and heard today. After a long time, she looked at Tan Xiu and asked, "Son, you can afford to buy a villa in Southgate Town by doing some business. How much money do you have now?" Tan Xiu said with a smile, "Actually, I didn't buy this villa. I helped a friend a lot, so he gave it to me. As for how much money I have, I haven't calculated it. I estimate it to be several hundred million." "How much?" Su Lingyun jumped up from the sofa and exclaimed in disbelief. Tan Xiu said, "At least several hundred million." Su Lingyun gulped down her saliva. She was really scared by this astronomical figure. Her restaurant's business was very good, with nearly 10,000 yuan coming in every day. But compared to several hundred million, it was like the difference between heaven and earth. Tan Xiu said with a smile, "Mom, we don't need to worry about money anymore. I've grown up. Not only can I finish my studies well, but I can also start a business. In the future, if you don't want to manage the restaurant anymore, you can sell it. If you still want to live your previous life, you can continue to manage the restaurant. In short, you can live your life according to your wishes. I only hope that you can live a comfortable and happy life in the future." Su Lingyun looked at Tan Xiu in a daze. She suddenly realized that her son had really grown up. He was no longer the child who needed her to protect and raise. Now, he really had the ability to take care of himself. Boo-hoo! Sitting on the sofa in the living room, Su Lingyun held her arms and cried bitterly. She thought of her husband, the hardships and grievances she had suffered all these years. "Mom." Tan Xiu just wanted to speak, but Mu Qingping reached out and stopped him. Mu Qingping sat down next to Su Lingyun. She reached out to hold her arm and softly said, "I know a little about your family situation. I also know that you and I are the same, raising a child alone. I'm afraid only we know the sadness of it. I also understand why you cry. The child is promising, and the mother is happy. But in front of the child, we should smile and not cry. After all, this is a happy event. Do you think I'm right?" Chapter 184. Su Lingyun raised her head with tearful eyes and nodded repeatedly. A mother's love was as heavy as a mountain. Which mother didn't have the mentality of wishing their son to become a dragon and looking forward to their child's achievements in the future? Now, her son was so young, yet he had already built a career that ordinary people couldn't achieve in their lifetime. Her heart was as sweet as eating honey. "You're right." Su Lingling wiped her tears and looked at Tan Xiu, saying, "Xiu, Mom is proud of you. Tan Xiao gratefully looked at Mu Qingping and said with a smile, Mom, I'm also proud of you. The whole morning, Tan Xiao accompanied Su Lingyun and told her about the things he hid from her. However, he didn't say anything about his return from the immortal world and his identity as an immortal cultivator. Today, he didn't even dare to say too much about his total assets, let alone his immortal cultivation. He had never estimated how much money he had before. Now that he thought about it, just the private island in the Pacific Ocean alone was worth 2 to 3 billion. At noon, Tan Xiao accompanied Su Lingyun to have lunch. Looking at Su Lingyun's doting appearance toward Gu Yin, he said with a smile, Mom, have you decided? Move here and live with me. If you don't want to sell our original house, you can keep it. You can visit it later when you have nothing to do. Also, if you don't want to take the driver's license test, I'll help you find a driver to pick you up from work every day. Su Lingyun shook her head and said, I'm used to living there. If I move here, I'm sure I won't be used to it. Son, I won't move here first. I'll wait until you're admitted to college, then I'll consider moving here. If you want to stay here, then you can live here. If you want to go back, then you can live there. It just so happens that it's close to the restaurant, so I don't need to take the driver's license test. I'll find a driver. Tan Xiao didn't want to go against his mother's will, but he was also somewhat reluctant to let her continue to stay in the original house. After hesitating for a moment, he slowly said, All right. I've already reserved a room for you. Anyway, whenever you want to stay here, you can come over anytime. In the afternoon, Tan Xiao sent Su Lingyun back to the restaurant. When he left, he saw her smiling as if she was several years younger, and he was particularly satisfied. When Tan Xiao arrived at the hotel where Scarblade Chang was staying, he just happened to see Kang Xia rushing over. I just called you 10 minutes ago. How come you're here so soon? Tan Xiao asked with a smile. Kang Xia said, I was doing something nearby and happened to receive your call. Boss, is the director of the winery you found reliable? Tan Xiao narrated the course of his acquaintance with Scarblade Chang in full detail. Finally, he said, those who can turn over a new leaf are all heroes. Since he has the ability to brew wine, I will give him a chance. If he can grasp it well, it won't be a problem for him to have a meteoric rise in the future. If he can't grasp it and does a bad job, as his immediate superior, you have the right to fire him. Kang Xia said with a smile, I'm relieved that you've given me this Shangfang sword. That's right, I've learned about several wineries in Star City this morning. One of them is quite good, but I haven't conducted a detailed investigation and field inspection. However, that winery is about to close down. If we can easily get it, it will save us a lot of trouble. Tan Xiao said, I'll leave this matter to you and Scarblade Chang. I'm busy with some important things in the next few days, so I can't manage the winery's construction and business matters. If you're short on money, just tell me and I'll find a way to get it. Kang Xia said with a charming smile, I don't need it for the time being. However, boss, you're really capable. I don't think you need me to help you manage the company. If you're short on money, you can find a way to get a lot of money. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, the money I need is not a small amount. Let alone billions, maybe tens of billions won't be enough for me. In short, I need to make money as much as possible. This will have a great impact on my future cultivation. Kang Xia was surprised and said, you're thinking of ways to make money for your future cultivation? Tan Xiao nodded and said, that's right. Only with resources can I cultivate faster. I'm currently severely short on resources. Fortunately, my cultivation is not high, so I can barely make do with it. Later, when my cultivation is higher, the resources I need will also increase. It will be very difficult to speed up my cultivation without huge financial support. Kang Xia heavily nodded and said, I'll work hard in the future. I believe you. Tan Xiao confidently said with a smile. Do you really have that much confidence in me? Kang Xia asked with a confused expression. Of course I have confidence in you. You're helping me make money, and you're also helping yourself. You have shares in the company, and you've also started cultivating, so you'll need a lot of resources in the future. If you want to become stronger, you must have a lot of resources, and you must speed up the money making. Kong Xia was at a loss whether she had to cry or laugh as she said, "So you taught me the cultivation technique for such a purpose? It can be said that I've been pulled into your pirate ship." "You still have a chance to get off the ship," Tan Xiu jokingly said. Kong Xia firmly shook her head and said, "I won't get off the ship even if I die. I still want to become a legendary immortal." Tan Xiu contacted Scarblade Chong in the hall and told him that he was waiting for him downstairs. Shortly after, Scarblade Chong hurriedly came down from upstairs. However, when he saw Kong Xia, he was once again bewitched by her beauty. He stared blankly at her for a while before he came back to his senses with an awkward expression. "She's Kong Xia, the general manager of my company. She'll also be your immediate superior in the future. Remember, her words are my words. She has full authority to deal with everything on my behalf. If you don't do well, or if she's not satisfied with you, she has the right to fire you." Everyone had the heart to love beauty. Even heroes would find it hard to resist the charms of beauties. Scarblade Chong was shocked by Kong Xia's beauty, but he didn't care about it. He only told Scarblade Chong about Kong Xia's identity with a warning tone. With a straight face, Scarblade Chong seriously said, "Rest assured, boss. Since you think highly of me and brought me from thousands of miles away, I promise I won't disgrace you." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "Kong Xia, let's go to the winery you told us first. If it's really good and can be bought at a low price, then we'll build the winery there. As for the brewing formula, I'll tell Scarblade Chong about it. As for the production machine, we'll buy it after we determine the location of the winery." Kong Xia asked, "Boss, what do you think about the sales of the wine we produce?" Tan Xiu said, "It's the same as our cosmetics and healthcare products. We'll open exclusive stores in every city, and we'll take the high-end route. The price of each bottle must be set at more than 5 digits. "Isn't the price too high?" Kong Xia exclaimed. Tan Xiu confidently said, "Whether it's high or not, you'll know when the time comes." Today, Kong Xia didn't drive her Lamborghini, but a Mercedes-Benz. Scarblade Chong could only force a wry smile inwardly since he became the driver. Mud Pond Winery. Star City's time-honored winery was once a state-owned enterprise. Later, it was sold by the government to an individual due to poor management. It was located in the Old River Street area, a remote area. Aside from a scrap collection station in the surroundings, there was only a crop field. The only road leading to this place was the winery's entrance. After the Mercedes-Benz stopped in front of the winery's entrance, Tan Xiu and the other two got off and came to the front gate. "It's locked?" Tan Xiu looked at the big rusty iron lock as he looked at Kong Xia with a puzzled expression. Kong Xia also frowned deeply and said with a puzzled expression, "I got the information of several wineries from the internet, but I didn't conduct an on-site investigation. I don't know much about the winery situation. How about we find someone to inquire about it?" It just so happened. At this moment, an old man wearing a flowery vest and big pants strolled over while holding an opium pipe. Kong Xia quickly greeted him and asked, "Grandpa, do you know why this Mud Pond Winery's door is locked?" The old man's pace stopped as he looked at Kong Xia, Tang Xiu, and Tang Xiu a few times. Then he snappily said, "What else could it be? That damn boss owes the workers wages, and the wine he makes is so disgusting. There's simply no business. It would be strange if he didn't close the door. This old man used to watch the door here and still owes me half a year's salary. Since this winery is closed, what about the owner?" Kong Xia asked with a puzzled expression. The old man cursed. "He ran away. He owes a lot of debts, so if he doesn't run away, he'll be beaten to death. This winery has been taken back by the government. Who knows when it will be sold again?" Kong Xia was surprised and asked, "The government took it back? Is it because the winery owes the government money?" The old man said, "The winery's owner originally evaded taxes, but the government found out after it went bankrupt. So, it was confiscated." "That's right, what are you doing here?" "We're here to learn about the winery situation," said Kong Xia. "We've been preparing to invest in the liquor business recently, so we came here to see how the business of this Mud Pond Winery is. I didn't expect that this place would go bankrupt after we came here. Grandpa, thanks for telling me this." The old man waved his hand and left with his opium pipe. Kang Xia looked at Tan Xiao and asked, "Boss, what should we do next? How do we negotiate with the government?" "Then negotiate with the government." Tan Xiao nodded. "Try to buy it at a low price. If you don't have enough connections in Star City, look for Long Zhengyu. He's the local tyrant here. It's a waste not to use the resources." Kang Xia covered her mouth and laughed. "Long Zhengyu has a friend like you. He's really out of luck. What you said makes sense. I'll contact him now and try to buy this winery at the lowest price as fast as possible. However, this winery is very dilapidated even though it has a large area. I'm afraid we'll have to rebuild the factory if we want to use it. Then we'll push it to the reconstruction." Tan Xiao said. "Keep the useful things inside and dispose of everything that can't be used. After everything is done, we'll talk about the liquor sales." Today's 4th chapter has been released. Seeking monthly votes and official subscription support. Silent Night thanks. Chapter 185. In the following 2 days, Tan Xiao no longer paid attention to the winery issue. Instead, he bought a batch of things and prepared to brew wine in the warehouse. His brewing method was very special. In addition to some grains, he also bought a lot of medicinal herbs and fruits. However, if he wanted to brew wine, time was a problem. It would take at least a few days to ferment the grains, make the fruits into a sauce, and boil the medicinal herbs. Only then would he be able to brew the wine. However, everything was ready, but he found that he had no money in his hands. The 2.5 billion he got a few days ago, he gave 2 billion to Chen Zhizhong and 300 million to Kang Xia. The remaining 200 million was given to Chu Yi as the money to buy medicinal herbs. "I have to think of a way to get money." The preliminary work of brewing wine had been completed. Standing in the warehouse, Tan Xiao thought with a helpless expression. He had a lot of things to do recently, but all of them needed money. He thought of selling another cultivation technique, but he had almost used up all of Xiao Mingjin's and Miao Wentong's money. Even if he wanted to sell it, he couldn't find a suitable buyer. The other cultivator he knew was Dao Master Z, but he was extremely poor. Even if he sold everything he had, he wouldn't be able to get much money. Should he borrow money? Just as this idea emerged in Tan Xiao's mind, he immediately rejected it. Knock, knock. The warehouse's door was knocked as Gu Yin came in with an expectant look on her small face. She looked at Tan Xiao and said, "Master, he needs to buy tutorials and workbooks. Mom is in class and has no time to accompany Yinin to the stationery store. Can you accompany me?" "All right, let's go now," Tan Xiao said with a smile. Although he had no money at present, he still had enough money to buy tutorials and workbooks. Moreover, Gu Yin's study was very important. He was still waiting for the grains to ferment, so he couldn't brew wine for the time being. Tan Xiao left Southgate Town with Gu Yin. Just as he walked out of the villa complex's gate, he keenly felt the existence of a threat. This kind of threat made him faintly uneasy. It was as if there was a pair of eyes staring at him from a dark corner. "Have you offended anyone recently?" Tang Xiao furrowed his brows and glanced around a few times in a seemingly casual manner. He held Gu Yin's hand tightly. No matter what danger he encountered, even if it meant getting himself injured, he would not let Gu Yin get hurt. A few minutes later, when Tan Xiao brought Gu Yin to the nearby commercial street, that feeling disappeared without a trace. However, he did not let his guard down. He accompanied Gu Yin to the stationery store to buy reference books and exercise books, and then directly sent Gu Yin home. Half an hour later, Tan Xiao left the villa quietly. He didn't go out from the front door. Instead, he went from the back of the villa and went up the hill. Then, he quietly went around the forest. Tan Xiao, who had changed his clothes and was constantly observing the surroundings with his sharp eyes, soon appeared in the vicinity of the Southgate Town's entrance. However, he only hid behind a tree and quietly searched for the unknown enemy. In a building a kilometer away from Tan Xiao, 2 men were standing by the window with military binoculars in their hands, observing the buildings of the Southgate Town. One of them was Wang Ming. Behind them, there were 4 other men drinking and chatting. Wang Ming put down the binoculars in his hands as he looked at the lean man beside him and said, Wolfhead, we've investigated the identity of the other party. He's not a bad guy. Furthermore, he has such a big business at such a young age, and his skill is also very powerful. Do we still need to continue monitoring him? After all, he only gave us 3 days. Wolfhead said, we've investigated him, but the information shown is not accurate. Don't be fooled by his appearance. He's not simple. When he took the little girl out of the South Gate Town's villa complex's entrance, he already noticed that someone was monitoring him. I'm not sure if he's aware of our existence, or if he's aware of the existence of another group of people. Wang Ming was surprised. There's another group of people monitoring him? Wolfhead pointed to the northwest direction and lightly said, do you see that Liangpi stall on the street? I bought Liangpi from that stall this morning. The other party looks very ordinary, but he's definitely a powerful character. Furthermore, he should have a gun on him. In addition, according to my observation, there were only 3 people who went to the stall yesterday to buy anything. 2 of them just randomly took some things and left without even paying for them. As for the other one, it's a middle-aged woman with a child. She didn't buy anything. Wang Ming's mind moved as he quickly asked, you mean, the other party is in disguise and wants to deal with that Tan Xiu? Wolfhead nodded and said, if my guess is correct, they should want to deal with him. I really want to watch this good show. I don't know if the final result will be his death, or those killers will have bad luck. Wang Ming asked, are we not going to help him? Wolfhead sneered, if he can't even solve such a trivial matter, what qualifications does he have to be our boss? Wang Ming said, if he really can't deal with those enemies, are we really going to follow him? Wolfhead said indifferently, those killers lurking in the dark are very dangerous. Even if we brothers encounter them, we'll fail miserably if we're not careful. If he can deal with them, it proves that he's very powerful. It's not impossible for us to follow him to deal with them. However, I still don't know what he wants us to do with him. Wang Ming nodded and no longer spoke. He was also looking forward to Tan Xiu's next performance. Wolfhead raised his binoculars again. When he looked outside the South Gate Town's villa complex's gate, his brows suddenly raised. A strange expression appeared in his eyes as he whispered, pay attention to the big tree 65 meters to the left of the gate. I didn't expect that he would actually sneak out of the villa complex and hide in the dark to observe the enemy. He should have found that stall selling Liangpi. Wang Ming quickly raised his binoculars and clearly saw Tan Xiu flashing out from behind the tree and walking toward the stall selling Liangpi. Stupid! If he just walks there and the other party directly shoots him, he won't be able to kill him even if he has 10 lives. Wang Ming immediately said in a low voice after he saw it clearly. Wolfhead said, keep looking. Near the South Gate Town's gate, Tan Xiu came to the front of the Liangpi stall. His sharp eyes sized up the middle-aged boss as he lightly said, give me 2 Liangpi. I'll take them away. The middle-aged man said with a smile, all right, please wait a moment. After saying that, he quickly glanced at the distant street corner as he raised his left hand to scratch the back of his head. Then he slowly grabbed a piece of Liangpi. Tan Xiu had been releasing his divine sense outside, covering a radius of 200 meters. The middle-aged boss's action was seen by his eyes. Within the scope of his divine sense, a man and a woman who looked like a couple quickly appeared under his surveillance. Gunmen? 3 people? Tan Xiu slightly squinted his eyes as he was ready to act. He didn't care who these people were. As long as they had killing intent toward him, he would never show mercy. Boss, I don't want Liangpi anymore. Tan Xiu said as he turned around to leave. The middle-aged boss furrowed his brows and a murderous intent instantly emerged in his eyes. In a flash, his hand grabbed the handle of the gun on his waist. The moment he retracted his hand into his sleeve, the gun's muzzle was already aimed at Tan Xiu. His finger moved. Bam! As the gunshot rang out, the middle-aged boss's complexion greatly changed all of a sudden. It was because he was confident that his shot didn't hit Tan Xiu. He even felt his vision blur and lost sight of Tan Xiu's figure. A gust of wind sounded and the middle-aged boss felt a chill on his neck. He gasped and felt that his neck was clamped by an iron clamp. Tan Xiu stood behind the middle-aged boss and whispered in his ear, Don't act rashly, else I'll immediately break your neck. Tell me who wants to kill me. The middle-aged boss's body turned stiff. He wanted to turn his head, only to find that he couldn't move his neck at all. A wave of horror surged inside his heart. His lips squirmed a few times and he bitterly said, I don't know either. I've been paid to eliminate disasters for others. I just want the target's information and I'll get the money after the job is done. I believe you. Tan Xiu sneered. Don't move. Those young couple over there should be your people, right? Tang Xiu sneered. They also have guns. It seems that some people really value me and sent 3 assassins at once. Tell me, how much is my head worth? 5 million. 5 million for each of us, that's 15 million, said the middle-aged boss with a trembling voice. Tan Xiu nodded and said, there should be a middleman between you and the employer, right? The 3 of you can get 15 million, but I'm afraid my head is more valuable. Tell me your contact with the middleman. 13814. The middle-aged boss gave him a cell phone number. Tang Xiu casually twisted the middle-aged boss's neck and grabbed his shoulder, looking at the man and woman who were getting closer without changing his expression. At this moment, the man and woman also noticed the unusual situation. They were more than 20 meters away from the stall and directly stopped. Very vigilant. Tan Xiu sneered coldly. He took the middle-aged boss's pistol and fired several shots at the man and woman more than 20 meters away without hesitation. He had never used a gun before, but he could lock it with his divine sense. As his finger pulled the trigger, the bullets instantly hit the man and woman. Peach blossoms bloomed. Bright red flowers bloomed on the man and woman's foreheads. 2 shots killed 2 people. Tan Xiu didn't throw the pistol away, but directly stuffed it into his pocket. He covered his face with his sleeves and quickly disappeared from the stall's vicinity. Murder! A cry of alarm came from nearby. A young woman carrying a handbag passed by. Hearing the gunshots and seeing the man and woman lying in a pool of blood, she panicked and lost her head. Even as he shouted, he ran into the distance. The 4 security guards at the entrance of Southgate Town hurriedly rushed out the moment they heard the gunshots and rushed toward the direction of the Liangpi stall. Someone reported that Silent Night's update time is too late. In order to take care of our brothers and sisters' work and rest time, Silent Night has decided to adjust the update time to the daytime. This is the first chapter. There will be 3 chapters tomorrow during the daytime, 9 a.m., 3 p.m., and 9 p.m. respectively. Brothers and sisters, please inform each other in the book review section and reader group. Chapter 186. Inside a building 1,000 meters away, Wolfhead and Wang Ming clearly saw what was happening in front of the Liangpi stall through binoculars. They didn't expect Tan Xiu to be so decisive. In today's legal society, he dared to kill people. He's very smart. Wolfhead looked at Tan Xiu's disappearing figure, and an extraordinary splendor flashed across his eyes. Wang Ming frowned and said, "Why do you say that?" After he broke the stall owner's neck, he snatched the pistol and shot the 2 killers. He didn't throw the pistol on the ground but directly took it with him. Also, did you notice his footsteps? He had been walking on his toes. He knew that once the police arrived at the crime scene, they would conduct an investigation. The most basic investigation method was to scan the footprints on the ground. Moreover, his previous appearance at the entrance of Southgate Town is bound to be investigated by the police. If we make him compare the footprints at the crime scene, he will be exposed. Wang Ming nodded and sighed in admiration. It's really a waste of talent that he didn't join the army. Wolfhead shook his head and said, "He's not suited to be a soldier." Wang Ming was surprised. "What do you mean?" Wolfhead said, "He's too ruthless and has no scruples in handling things. He's not suitable for military discipline. Once he joins the army and becomes a soldier like us, he's bound to cause big trouble." Wang Ming nodded and asked, "What should we do next? Cooperate with the police to arrest him?" Wolfhead turned his head and looked deeply at Wang Ming as he coldly said, "Why do you want to cooperate with the police? One should not meddle in politics if one is not in a position. We've already taken off our military uniforms, so there's no need for us to get involved." Don't forget that it wasn't easy for us to get rid of our pursuers and sneak into Star City. Do you want to expose our whereabouts again? After a moment of silence, Wang Ming said bitterly, if we show up, we'll definitely be monitored by the state. Wolfhead sneered and said, let's see what Tan Xiu is going to do next. If he can solve this matter perfectly without causing any trouble, it proves that he is capable and worthy of our following. If he gets into trouble and doesn't meet my expectations, then we'll go our separate ways. All right. Wang Ming nodded silently. Wolfhead was silent for a moment before he turned around and threw the binoculars in his hand on the table. Then, he said in a deep voice, you guys continue to monitor here. I'll go out for a while. Wang Ming quickly said, Wolfhead, don't tell me you want to keep a close watch on Tan Xiu? This guy is vicious and merciless. If he accidentally treats you, I don't even have the ability to protect myself if he misunderstood me, said Wolfhead indifferently. I don't think he needs trash like us. Alright, wait for me to come back. The tree longs for peace, but the wind never ceases. Tan Xiu did not know who it was that hated him to the bone, to the extent that they did not hesitate to hire 3 powerful killers to kill him. However, he wasn't a soft persimmon. Adhering to the principle of, I won't offend people if they don't offend me, but if they offend me, I'll definitely offend them, he didn't return to the Southgate town after leaving the Liangpi stall. Instead, he went to a secluded place on the other side, took out his mobile, and dialed the number given by the Liangpi stall's owner. The call was connected, but the other party did not speak. Tan Xiu was silent for more than 10 seconds before he slowly said, I'm Tan Xiu. I'll give you 10 times the reward. Tell me the answer I want. Are they dead? A deep and low voice finally came from the phone. Tan Xiu said, they're all dead. The person on the phone fell into silence again. This time, he was silent for a full half a minute before he slowly said, transfer 200 million to my account. I don't like trouble, so I hope you can tidy up the ending for me. The account number is... Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and dialed Kong Xia's cell number. After he learned that the 300 million he just gave her had not been spent yet, he immediately said, give me 200 million and transfer it to the account I'll give you immediately. Be quick. Kong Xia forced a smile and said, Boss? What do you want to do? It's not easy for me to get some money, but you don't ask what you shouldn't ask and transfer the money immediately, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. All right. Kong Xia complied and then transferred 200 million to the account according to Tan Xiu's instruction. In the afternoon, the staff of the property management office delivered an express delivery to his home. Tan Xiu had been waiting for the news. After receiving the express delivery, he opened it and took a few glances. A dense, killing intent surged in his heart. Zhang Deqin? Tan Xiu remembered the appearance of this woman. When he went to the Rising Dragon Martial School to challenge the school and even asked for 100 million, Zhang Deqin sent him a video message the next day. She told Tan Xiu that she was out of the country and couldn't get away to go back. Moreover, she solemnly apologized to Tan Xiu and promised that she wouldn't do anything wrong again in the future. It was just a small grudge. Tan Xiu had never taken it to heart. Not to mention that the other party had already apologized, so he didn't feel like tidying up the siblings. But he didn't expect that Zhang Deqin turned out to be a woman who would seek revenge for the smallest grievance. She didn't even hesitate to spend 20 million to hire assassins. On the same night, Tan Xiu quietly came to Long Zhengyu's residence. Although it was already late at night, Tan Xiu could be sure that Long Zhengyu hadn't rested since the whole building was brightly lit. Releasing his spiritual sense, Tan Xiu didn't know whether to laugh or cry. Long Zhengyu was working on the bed at the moment, and there were more than one opponents around him. This guy, Tan Xiu hid in the dark shade of the villa's courtyard and waited for 10 minutes. He paid attention to the end of Long Zhengyu's fight. Then, he picked up a stone and fiercely smashed it toward the bedroom's glass on the second floor. Bang! The glass of the bedroom's window on the second floor was smashed. On the soft bed, Long Zhengyu stood up with satisfaction and was about to take a bath in the bathroom. Suddenly, he saw the glass was smashed, and his complexion greatly changed. He quickly grabbed his pajamas and quickly put them on. Then, he flashed to the glass window and looked outside while shouting, Who's there? Tan Xiao came out from the shade of the tree and waved to Long Zhengyu before quickly retreating. Long Zhengyu's expression slightly stagnated after he clearly saw Tan Xiao's appearance. Never in his dreams did he expect that the one who came to smash his house's glass would turn out to be Tan Xiao. It was because he had never told Tan Xiao his address. However, he quickly came out and looked at Tan Xiao, who was leaning on the tree's shade. He forced a smile and said, "Brother Tang, I didn't offend you, did I? You didn't sleep in the middle of the night and came to my house to smash my window. What's your intention?" "I need your help with something," said Tan Xiao. Long Zhengyu rolled his eyes and snappily said, "If there's something you need my help with, just call me directly. Why did you smash my house's glass? Fortunately, you just smashed it. Had it been a few minutes earlier, I would have been scared to the point of impotence." "I have some medicine to treat impotence," said Tan Xiao with a faint smile. Long Zhengyu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. "All right, stop bragging. Hurry up and tell me what's the matter." A strange light flashed in Tan Xiao's eyes as he asked, "Is there a grudge between your Long family and the Zhang family of Star City?" "The Zhang family?" Long Zhengyu stared blankly for a moment before he immediately shook his head and said, "It's not a grudge, just a competitor. But we also have some small frictions in private." Tan Xiao was silent for a moment and then asked, "What will happen to the Zhang family if Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin are dead?" Long Zhengyu stared blankly and asked in horror, "What do you want to do?" Tan Xiao coldly said, "Those two siblings must die. So, answer my question." Long Zhengyu looked at Tan Xiao with disbelief and whispered, "Brother Tang, you must think twice before you act. The Zhang family has been operating in Star City for decades, so they are definitely deeply rooted. Even if we, the Long family, want to move against them, we will have to suffer heavy losses. Once you kill them, the Zhang family will retaliate by hook or by crook." Tan Xiao said, "The reason why I came to you is because I have considered the consequences of the Zhang family's retaliation. I just want to ask you, if your Long family and Chen Zhizhong join hands, can you deal with the Zhang family?" Long Zhengyu pondered for a moment before he forced a smile and said, "That will be very difficult. At most, we can only make the Zhang family suffer heavy losses." Tan Xiao pondered for a moment and slowly said, "Is it possible for external forces to intervene in this matter?" Long Zhengyu was surprised. "You mean forces outside of Star City? For example, Chu Yi's family and Bai Tao's family? Or the Ouyang family?" "You can count them in as well," said Tan Xiao. Long Zhengyu was excited and quickly said, "If they are willing to participate, we can exterminate the Zhang family. However, Chu Yi's and Bai Tao's families are in the imperial capital, and they also have many hostile forces eyeing them covetously. If they make a big move, the hostile families will definitely catch them. The Ouyang family can participate, but can Ouyang Lulu make the decision?" Tan Xiao said, "Then there's no need to involve Chu Yi and Bai Tao. I'll solve the Ouyang family's problem. I'll give you 2 days to collect all the information about the Zhang family and give me a copy. I'll meet you 2 days later and we'll talk about it in detail at that time." Long Zhengyu quickly said, "No problem. I'll give you the detailed information as soon as possible. However, you must not act in advance. If the Zhangs really provoke you, I can find someone to clean up the Zhang siblings first to vent your anger." Tan Xiao shook his head and said, "No need." Having said that, Tan Xiao didn't stay for long. Under Long Zhengyu's watchful gaze, he lightly flipped over the wall and left. It was an empty street with a dark alley. After leaving Long Zhengyu's residence, Tan Xiao's heart was still shrouded in a sense of crisis. Although he had killed 3 assassins with his own hands, he still felt that there was a pair of eyes watching him in the dark. However, he used his spiritual sense to cover the surroundings, yet he didn't find the enemy's existence. An expert. Tan Xiao could be sure that the other party was definitely a detection expert. Otherwise, it was impossible for the other party to lurk in the distance and secretly monitor him. The park? Tan Xiao's footsteps stopped at the park's entrance. His mind turned sharply as he immediately flipped over the wall and entered the park. He then disappeared into the woods in the park. He needed to uncover the person hiding in the dark, otherwise he wouldn't be able to eat and sleep well. The subscription data has been declining recently. Everyone is fattening up. Please subscribe automatically, brothers and sisters. This is what Quiet Night needs the most. Thank you. Chapter 187. Hundreds of meters away. Wolfhead put down the binoculars in his hand as vigilance flashed in his eyes. He realized that Tan Shio had found something, but he wasn't sure whether it was him or not. With a cautious attitude, he quickly circled to the other side of the park and quietly sneaked in. A few minutes later, Wolfhead appeared in the grove. He was like a shadow in the dark as he quietly came to the place where Tan Shio jumped over the wall. As he squatted on the ground and quickly observed the footprints on the ground, his figure also chased in another direction bit by bit. Gone. Wolfhead lost track of Tan Shio's footprints under a tree. Just as he turned around to search, his complexion suddenly changed. His toes suddenly stomped the ground and he was about to flee into the distance. Whoosh! A figure fell from the sky and landed in front of Wolfhead. Tan Shio indifferently looked at Wolfhead. Although he had a pistol on his waist, he didn't have the slightest intention to use it. In his view, his own strength was the biggest killing weapon. You've been following me all the way. You've been following me all the way. Wolfhead violently retreated a few meters in an instant. He didn't turn around to flee, but stared at Tan Shio like a hungry wolf and said in a deep voice, "There are only a handful of people in this world who can discover me. I don't get it. How did you discover me? People who have been hovering on the edge of death all year round will have a keen sense of crisis," said Tan Shio indifferently. "You have a strong murderous aura on you, and you've killed at least 100 people. Presumably, you're also someone who has been hovering on the edge of death all year round. Just like how you just noticed that the footprints were gone and immediately wanted to retreat. I've investigated your information, and it shows that you're just an ordinary student," said Wolfhead. "Even if you're more powerful than some people and started your business before graduating from high school, I don't know much about your skills and killing without batting an eye. I don't believe that someone is born with a powerful strength, nor do I believe that someone is born cold-blooded. Can you explain it to me? You're not qualified." Tan Shio shook his head. Wolfhead squinted his eyes and his body instantly tensed up. He then said in a deep voice, "Whether I'm qualified or not, we'll talk after we fight. If you can defeat me, I will consider agreeing to your terms." "My conditions?" Tan Shio stared blankly. At this moment, Wolfhead pounced forward. The veins on his arms bulged, and his fists carried a sharp gust of wind as they smashed towards Tan Shio's face. His speed had exceeded the limits of the human body. Even Tan Shio did not dare to let his guard down. Retreat! Tan Shio's speed was even faster than Wolfhead's. His fist collided with Wolfhead's fist. His body swayed, but he didn't retreat. Wolfhead, on the other hand, retreated 7 or 8 steps before he staggered and stabilized his body. Such powerful strength! Wolfhead's right hand trembled as he looked at Tan Shio in disbelief. "You're also very strong," said Tan Shio lightly. He didn't expect it to break through 500 kilograms. "If I'm not mistaken, you practice Qigong, right? And your true Qi cultivation has also reached the minor completion level. Even those so-called martial arts grandmasters will die in your hands in a short time if they go all out against you." Wolfhead couldn't deny it and smiled. His figure once again pounced toward Tan Shio. This time, he still waved his fist and smashed it toward Tan Shio's face. However, his footwork was in a different position from before. When the fist shadow was about to hit Tan Shio, his footwork instantly rotated and his body strangely changed its direction. Like a willow swaying, his fist shadow also struck Tan Shio's left neck in a strange route. Tan Shio snorted coldly. His hands moved as fast as lightning and blocked Wolfhead's attack in an instant. He was thousands of times more experienced than Wolfhead when it came to fighting. He had fought countless times and had long trained every nerve in his body to be in a fighting state. As his footwork shadow moved, Wolfhead attempted to attack again. But eventually, he was helpless and had to go all out to resist and evade Tan Shio's attack. Bam! Wolfhead's arms were dislocated by Tan Shio's footwork shadow. The burning pain made his complexion change miserably. As he staggered backward, he shouted, "Stop!" Tan Xiao stopped and stood 4 to 5 meters away from Wolfhead. Then he indifferently said, "Seeing that you haven't taken out your Mitsubishi Army knife, I'll give you a chance to speak." Wolfhead forced a smile and shook his head. He sighed. "Wang Ming said that you're very powerful. I didn't even have the chance to fight back under your hands. I taught him personally, so I naturally know his strength. I didn't believe it before, but now I do. You're very strong. My arms have been dislocated and I don't have the ability to fight anymore." "You're Wolfhead?" asked Tan Xiao with a frown. Wolfhead forced a smile and said, "It's me." Tan Xiao's taut nerves relaxed as he lightly said, "You're very punctual. You came to Star City within 3 days. But I want to know, what's your relationship with those assassins?" Wolfhead shook his head and said, "We don't have any relationship. After we investigated your information, we found out that there's another group of people monitoring you. Those people are obviously well-trained assassins, and 2 of them are not from our country. After our investigation, we found out that they came to our country from abroad, and their goal is to assassinate you." Tan Xiao said, "So, you want to use them to test my strength?" Wolfhead said, "That's right. If you can't even solve this crisis, what qualifications do you have to be our boss?" Tan Xiao nodded and said, "You've witnessed my strength. What's your conclusion?" Wolfhead said, "The only condition is that you can find the real culprit behind the scenes and solve this matter thoroughly. This group of people, will follow you later." "All right," Tan Xiao said. Wolfhead hesitated and said, "However, once we follow you, I'm afraid we'll bring you trouble. It's because our identity is too special, and we have strength that ordinary people can't compare with. Therefore, some people will be monitoring us in the dark. We came to Star City this time to find a way to get rid of those people and quietly lurk here." "Country's people?" Tan Xiao raised his brows and asked. Wolfhead nodded and said, "Yes, the Special Operations Group." Tan Xiao said, "It's not a problem for me. You've already been freed from your original identity, and I won't let you stay in the country." "Going abroad?" Wolfhead was surprised. Tan Xiao said, "That's right. I bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean. I need someone to guard it. Your strength is not bad, so you should be able to guarantee the safety there." Wolfhead looked at Tan Xiao with an astonished expression and whispered, "You want to form a private armed force?" "That's right." Tan Xiao nodded calmly. Wolfhead said, "We have no problem with it. This is our specialty. I want to know what kind of treatment you'll give us if we follow you." Tan Xiao said indifferently, "That depends on what kind of form you're going to follow me. If you're really on my side, you won't hesitate even if I tell you to die. Naturally, the treatment will be the best. It can also be said that it's absolutely what you've been dreaming of. If you're only willing to be my ordinary subordinates, your treatment may be very good, but it'll only be a few times worse." Wolfhead looked deeply at Tan Xiao and said in a deep voice, "You're very ambitious. Your conditions and your ambition terrify me." Tan Xiao sneered, "That's because you're not strong enough. When you can blow up this planet with a punch, nobody here will be a threat to you." Wolfhead shook his head and couldn't deny it. Blow up Earth with a punch? What kind of joke was this? If he could blow up Earth with a punch, he would be able to move unhindered in the universe. He cursed inwardly as he looked at Tan Xiao and said, "It doesn't matter what form it is. We'll talk about it later. For now, the first thing you have to do is to prove your strength. I'll let you see it." Tan Xiao turned around and walked toward the park's wall. Half an hour later, in a building a kilometer away from Southgate Town, someone gently knocked on the door. The rhythmic knock sounded 7 times before the door was opened from the inside. Inside the room, Wang Ming put down the binoculars in his hand and looked at the somewhat pale Wolfhead who came in. He asked in surprise, "What happened to you?" Wolfhead smiled bitterly. Under the gazes of the 5 people in the room, he forced a smile and said, "I just exchanged a few moves with that Tan Xiao. You're right. He's very powerful. I've never seen a powerhouse like him in my life. All right, don't just stare blankly. My arms are dislocated. Quickly connect them." The 5 people in the room were greatly shocked. They looked incredulously at Wolfhead's dislocated arms as their heartbeats sped up by several beats. Among them, Wolfhead was fully deserving of being the strongest powerhouse. It was a pity that he wasn't Tan Xiu's match. Even his arms were dislocated. How strong was Tan Xiu? Everyone present, perhaps only Wang Ming, could understand Tan Xiu's strength. With a wry smile, he quickly helped Wolfhead connect his arms and said with a wry smile, "Actually, I've already guessed that you're not Tan Xiu's match, Wolfhead. That guy's speed, strength, and reaction speed are too terrifying. I've tried my best, but I can't even touch his clothes." Wolfhead said, "He's very strong." Wang Ming hesitated for a moment before asking, "Wolfhead, what did you talk about?" Wolfhead said, "I've told him very clearly. If he can completely solve this crisis and prove his strength, then we can follow him later. If he can't solve it, then he's not worth following. However, he told me one thing. Once we follow him, he won't let us stay in the country." "Won't stay in the country? Then where will we go?" Wang Ming asked with a confused expression. Wolfhead said, "He said that he bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean and wants us to be guards there. He wants to form an armed force that belongs to him." Wang Ming said with a strange expression, "Armed force? What does he want to do?" Wolfhead shook his head and said, "I don't know. Weekly asking for monthly votes." Chapter 188. Tan Xiu quietly returned to Southgate Town without alerting anyone. After returning to his room, he immediately took out his phone and dialed Miao Wentong's number. "Brother Tang, why haven't you gone to bed yet?" Miao Wentong's hearty laughter could be heard from the phone. "Not yet," said Tan Xiu. "I need to talk to you about something." Miao Wentong asked, "What is it?" "Say it." Tan Xiu said, "Are you short of money now? Do you want to make some money?" Miao Wentong said with a smile, "I'm short of money. I've never been short of money like I am now." "What good business do you have, Brother Tang?" Tan Xiu said, "I have an enemy, and I'm going to start with this family." He had already contacted some people and was preparing to make a move in a few days. "Are you interested in joining in?" Miao Wentong asked, "Which clan?" "Star City, Zhang family," said Tan Xiu. Miao Wentong was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "I've never heard of this family. It shouldn't be some big family in the country. However, no matter what family the other party is, I'll naturally join in since Brother Tang has spoken. Do you want me to contact Brother Xiao?" "I'll contact him myself," said Tan Xiu. "If you're willing to join in, it's best if you come to Star City tomorrow. Let's meet at the Long's Dining Hall in Star City." "All right." Tan Xiu hung up the phone and dialed Xiao Mingjin's number. The answer he got was the same as Miao Wentong's. They all agreed to participate. Ouyang family. Tan Xiu put away his phone, feeling a little hesitant. Making a move against the Zhang family was absolutely a big move. Even though the Long family, Chen Zhizhong, Miao Wenong, and Xiao Mingjin's four forces could join in, but the Zhang family was, after all, the local tyrant of Star City, with deep heritage. Their counterattack before they died was probably very powerful as well. He didn't know if he should pull the Ouyang clan into this. If the Ouyang clan was involved, he would owe them a favor. A debt of money was easy to repay, but a debt of gratitude was hard to repay. Tan Xiu did not like to owe others favors. However, for the sake of safety, he decided to talk to Ouyang Lulu first. Through the window, Tan Xiu looked at the white Land Rover parked in the yard and turned to leave the room. After arriving at Ouyang Lulu's guest room on the first floor, he reached out and knocked on the door. Creak. The door was opened from the inside. Ouyang Lulu, who was wearing sexy pajamas, stood inside the door with sleepy eyes. She muttered with dissatisfaction, "It's the middle of the night and you're not sleeping. What are you doing here?" "I'm only here to stay, not to give myself to you." Tan Xiu brushed past her, walked to the sofa in the guest room, and sat down. He said, "I want to talk to you about something serious. Go wash your face and sober up." Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiu and went to the bathroom to wash her face. After coming back, she was obviously much more spirited, but there was still a dissatisfied look on her beautiful face as she snorted and said, "What serious matter can't wait until tomorrow? Can't you see what time it is? It's 1 a.m. Tan Xiao straightforwardly said, There's a big deal, are you interested? What big deal? Ouyang Lulu was confused. Tan Xiao said, It's not a serious business, but it's the kind that makes money fast. There's a family in Star City that has offended me, and I'm going to exterminate them. Their family is very rich and powerful. I've contacted several groups of people, and we're going to deal with that family together in a few days. Although your Ouyang family is not in Star City, your family has a deep heritage. If you want a piece of the pie, I can let you participate. Which family? Ouyang Lulu asked curiously. The Zhang family. Tan Xiao said lightly. I heard Zhengyu talk about this family. They have some friction with the Long family. The Long family is one of the groups you contacted, right? Tan Xiao nodded and said, If we can exterminate the Zhang family, the Long family will benefit the most. It's a God-given opportunity. If Long Hanwen and Zhengyu are not stupid, they will definitely join in. Ouyang Lulu pondered for a moment. She then sat opposite to Tan Xiao and asked, Can you tell me how the Zhang family offended you? Tan Xiao calmly said, I once taught a lesson to the Zhang family's proud daughter, Zhang Deqin. I also beat the Zhang family's young master twice. Yesterday, I took Yinin outside to buy stationery and were targeted by 3 assassins. Although I killed those 3 assassins, I also paid a big price to figure out that Zhang Deqin was the mastermind behind the scenes. Since she wants me dead, do you think I should kill them? Ouyang Lulu was surprised. So you killed those 3 people who died at the South Gate Town's gate today? They turned out to be assassins? Yeah, I heard that there were guns left at the scene of the crime, so those people are not good people. I have to go back and discuss this matter with my family. After all, this is a big deal. Tan Xiao said, Tomorrow night, Long's Dining Hall. If your Ouyang family wants to join us, we'll meet at the Long's Dining Hall. Ouyang Lulu asked, You haven't told me who else will join us besides the Long family. Tan Xiao said, The Long family, Chen Zhizhong and my other 2 friends. They have some forces, but I don't know their specific strength. Ouyang Lulu was surprised. You didn't look for Chu Yi and Bai Tao? Tan Xiao said, Their families are in the imperial capital. Perhaps they also have some hostile families. So they don't need to participate in this matter. Ouyang Lulu was, after all, the eldest daughter of her family. She was able to understand the problem. She nodded and said, That's right. Their Chu family and the Bai family are very close, but there are still some big families in the imperial capital that are a threat to them. If they are caught by their opponents, I'm afraid their 2 families will be in big trouble. Star City, Jianing District. Inside a magnificent 3-story villa, Zhang Deqin was nestled on a soft sofa with a glass of red wine in her hand, but she didn't drink even half a mouthful. Her complexion was unsightly, and her heart was full of worry. In front of her, her younger brother, Zhang Yongjin, was anxiously pacing back and forth. His eyes swept over Zhang Deqin's mobile on the coffee table from time to time. They were waiting for the news that the enemy had been eliminated. However, it was already late at night, yet there was not even the slightest news. Can you not show yourself in front of me? Go to sleep if you can't stand it. I'll solve this matter. Zhang Deqin reprimanded in an irritated tone. Zhang Yongjin stopped and sat in front of Zhang Deqin. He grabbed a cigarette and lit it up. After taking a few deep puffs, he said, Sis, will there be any unforeseen event? It's already late at night, how come there's no news at all? Aren't those assassins you hired very powerful? Zhang Deqin angrily snorted, You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Zhang Yongjin hesitated. The murder case at the entrance of Southgate Town, could it be related to that surnamed Tang? I heard that 3 people died. Maybe it's that surnamed Tang and his relatives. Zhang Deqin also received the news, but she still couldn't determine who had died. She had spent 20 million to hire assassins from the Philippines. The other party only told her that they would help her eliminate the target, but they didn't say how many people would be sent. What made her restless was not that she couldn't kill Tan Xiao, but she was worried that those assassins would be killed and the middleman would sell her out. If Tan Xiao didn't die, and if he knew that she was the one who hired the assassins, then her fate would be very miserable. Ring, ring, ring. The cell phone's ringtone sounded, startling the anxious Zhang siblings. Zhang Deqin quickly grabbed the cell phone and saw the caller's number on the screen. She immediately pressed the answer button and asked with a sinking tone, "Have you investigated it? Who are the 3 people killed outside the Southgate town's entrance? Their identities are unknown. They shouldn't be from our country." A deep and low voice came from the phone. "It's over." Zhang Deqin's cell phone fell to the ground, but she didn't seem to notice it. If the 3 people who were killed were not from her country, then they should be the assassins she hired. They shouldn't have sold me out, right? They shouldn't have. I didn't contact those assassins, but there's a middleman. As long as the middleman didn't sell me out, I'm absolutely safe. She quickly picked up the cell phone and dialed the middleman's cell number. But she was at a loss as the other party's cell phone was turned off. What's going on? Zhang Deqin looked at Zhang Yongjin with blank eyes. A few minutes later, she suddenly got up from the sofa, looked at Zhang Yongjin, and hurriedly said, "Leave Star City overnight. Remember, even if something big happens in Star City, you're not allowed to come back in a short time. Go to northern Jiangsu. I have a friend in northern Jiangsu. She'll shelter you for some time." Zhang Yongjin asked in a panic, "Big sis, what's going on? We're obviously the ones who hired the assassins to kill them. How come the situation seems to be reversed?" Zhang Deqin said with a bitter expression, "I have a bad premonition. I'm afraid this matter will be very troublesome. Listen to me. You don't need to think or ask anything. Leave Star City overnight and go to northern Jiangsu to find my friend. Quickly pack your things." Zhang Yongjin hurriedly asked, "Big sis, what about you?" Zhang Deqin shook her head and said, "I can't leave. First, we still can't be sure whether Tan Xiao knows that I'm the one who hired the assassins. Second, our family is here and we have our family's protection, so I should be fine. I'll try my best to appear in public in the next few days and bring more bodyguards with me. Third, even if that Tan Xiao knows that I hired the assassins, he won't dare to do anything to me openly. Otherwise, he'll be well aware that our Zhang family will retaliate fiercely." Zhang Yongjin said, "Big sis, I won't leave either. If Tan Xiao doesn't dare to retaliate against you, I believe he won't dare to retaliate against me either. Let's leave together and stay together." Zhang Deqin felt warm inside, but she still angrily shouted, "Cut the crap. I've decided that you must leave overnight. I'll explain it to Dad and Mom." Zhang Yongjin angrily said, "I don't need your explanation. I'm not leaving. Don't even think about threatening me. I'm a man and I must stay in Star City." Zhang Deqin sneered, "Do you want me to send someone to kidnap you? Or do you want me to obediently leave? It's your choice." Today's 4th chapter has ended. Weeping for monthly votes and subscription support. Silent Night thanks. Chapter 189. At the Star City Criminal Police Unit. Even though it was already early in the morning, the entire office building of the Criminal Police Unit was still brightly lit. A large number of police officers were coming in and out, along with flashing police lights, coming in and out. On the 2nd floor of the office building, a pungent smell of smoke wafted in the smoke-filled office. The City Public Security Bureau's chief Deng Jianmin held a cigarette between his fingers as he frowned and looked at the more than 20 members of the Criminal Police Unit in the office. "Our superiors have given us a death order. We must solve this case within 3 days. I don't care what method you use, but you must find the murderer as soon as possible." Deng Jianmin said with a gloomy face. Cheng Xueme forced a smile and said, "Chief, we also want to solve this case as soon as possible. But this case is too special. We don't have any information about these people in the archives. If we can confirm that they are foreigners, we can only contact Interpol to get more clues." Deng Jianmin said, "I've already reported the situation. I believe we can contact Interpol soon. As long as we can confirm that these people are foreigners, it means that they are international killers just like we speculated. Since they died near the Southgate Town's gate, I think their target is inside the Southgate Town's villa complex. Did you copy the surveillance video of the residents going in and out of the Southgate Town's gate yesterday?" "I've copied it," Cheng Xueme said. Deng Jianmin said, "Play it. We'll screen out the suspicious targets." "All right." Cheng Xueme complied. Due to the fast playback on the monitor screen, the scene of Tang Xiu holding Gu Yin's hand and leaving was broadcasted 10 minutes later. Wait. Cheng Xueme's complexion slightly changed as she immediately shouted. Deng Jianmin asked with a confused expression, "Captain Cheng, did you find something wrong?" Cheng Xueme said to the broadcaster, "Rewind the video and freeze the scene on the two people who just came out." Deng Jianmin watched the video. A few seconds later, he frowned and said, "Doesn't this young man look familiar? I think I've seen him somewhere." "Chief Deng, he's Tan Xiu," said Cheng Xueme in a deep voice. Deng Jianmin's pupils shrunk as he suddenly got up and said in a deep voice, "He was also implicated in the massacre of those A-rank wanted criminals in the previous major case. In the school case, he was the one who killed the A-class fugitive who had kidnapped a student. How could he appear in Southgate Town?" Cheng Xueme shook her head and said, "He lives in Southgate Town." Looking at how he was holding the little girl's hand, it seemed like he wasn't the only one living in Southgate Town. It's been more than an hour since the 3 assassins were killed. "Continue to play the surveillance video," said Deng Jianmin in a deep voice. As the surveillance video played, everyone present furrowed their brows. Not long after, Tang Xiu returned to the villa complex with the little girl. They saw Tan Xiu go in with their own eyes. Until the 3 killers were killed, Tan Xiu did not come out. "Not him." A criminal police member shook his head and said. Cheng Xueme sneered, "As far as I know, Tan Xiu's kung fu is quite good. If he climbed over the wall and left the villa, who can be sure that he's not the one who killed the 3 killers?" The criminal police member said, "Captain Cheng, we got the surveillance video of the entire Southgate Town. There are CCTV cameras all around the villa. According to the person in charge of the Southgate Town's property management office, there are almost no blind spots in the entire villa. In other words, if there's no footage of Tan Xiu leaving the villa, then he can be ruled out as a suspect. Continue to watch." Deng Jianmin said in a deep voice. 3:30 a.m. All the surveillance videos of Southgate Town had been watched, and it was finally confirmed that Tan Xiu did not leave Southgate Town. With a puzzled expression, Cheng Xueme said, "If this case is not done by Tan Xiu, then who is it? We've compared every resident who came in and out, and almost everyone has been ruled out." Deng Jianmin's fingers tapped on the table. After a long silence, he slowly said, "Captain Cheng, you go to Southgate Town tomorrow and ask Tan Xiu to cooperate with us." Cheng Xueme forced a smile and said, "Chief Deng, Tan Xiu's character is too. He's not easy to get along with. Besides, we don't have any evidence to prove that he's the one who did this. I don't think it's appropriate to rashly ask him to cooperate with the investigation. The most important thing for us now is to find the clues. Once we identify the target, we can proceed further with the investigation." She didn't forget that she had asked Tan Xiu to cooperate with the investigation in the previous case, but the result was nothing. This time, she also had the same feeling. Even if she went to look for Tan Xiu, she was afraid that she wouldn't get any useful information from Tan Xiu. Deng Jianmin said, "Let's go. Regardless of whether he's the murderer or not, it can serve as a deterrent. There have been too many major cases in Star City recently. If it goes on like this, not only will I not be able to sit in my position as the chief, but you will also be severely punished." Cheng Xueme rubbed her head, feeling a bit of a headache. Under Deng Jianmin's gaze, she had no choice but to nod. For a lot of people, it was ordinary and ordinary. But there were also some people who lived a particularly wonderful life. Perhaps it was a success, perhaps it was a failure. Their life was full of misfortune and fortune. Tan Xiu had experienced too many things in the past 2 months since he returned from the immortal world. Sometimes he wanted to stop and rest, but the wheel of fate didn't allow him to control it as it took the initiative to push him forward. However, he was a brave man. The 10,000 years in the immortal world had long sharpened his heart like a stone. Inside the villa's warehouse, Tan Xiu was concocting a drug, corpse-dissolving powder. This drug was a good thing to destroy corpses and erase traces in the immortal world. As long as it was poured on a corpse, it would turn the corpse into a puddle of stinky water. Even the clothes would not be left. Early in the morning, Tan Xiao went back to his room and slept until noon. After washing up, he went to the living room on the first floor and found Long Hanwen sitting in the hall on the first floor, drinking tea. Long Zhengyu was quietly sitting opposite him, looking at the documents in his hand. "Uncle Long, when did you come?" Tan Xiao went forward to greet him. Long Hanwen squinted his eyes as he deeply observed Tan Xiao and said, "I just came here not long ago. I went to collect some information in the morning and then came here. This house is good. Are you used to living here?" "Not bad," Tan Xiao said. Long Zhengyu closed the documents in his hand and handed them to Tan Xiao, saying, "I didn't expect my dad to have already sent people to collect the things you want. Moreover, it's very complete. Therefore, I added what I could in the morning. Also, this is the contract my dad made overnight. You can also take a look at it." Tan Xiao took the documents and carefully looked at the Zhang family's situation. He had to admit that compared to the Zhang family, he simply paled in comparison and was not worth mentioning. The total assets of the Zhang family alone were estimated to be more than 20 billion yuan. As for the cards they had in their hands, even Long Hanwen's investigation didn't have them. Subsequently, Tan Xiao looked at the contract made by Long Hanwen overnight. After reading it, his expression was a bit strange as he said with a smile, "Opportunities are given to those who are prepared. It seems that Uncle Long is well prepared. Although I don't know much about this contract, I can see a problem. If the Zhang family signs this contract, I'm afraid they will have big trouble once they have a shortage of funds." Long Hanwen raised his brows and asked, "You can only see this?" Tan Xiao said, "What I'm talking about is this contract. I haven't said anything else. Or rather, it's the doubt in my heart. Your Long family and the Zhang family are competitors, and there are constant frictions between the younger generation. What assurance do you have that the Zhang family will sign this contract?" Long Hanwen said with a smile, "The world is bustling for benefits, and the world is bustling for benefits. What was a businessman? Businessmen were a group that pursued profit. The head of the Zhang family, Zhang Fengxian, was a fickle and heartless person. Even if it was his family, he would betray them if he was given enough benefits. As for this contract, once the cooperation was successfully completed, the Zhang family would have a net profit of at least 1 billion yuan. Do you think Zhang Fengxian won't be tempted? In addition, this contract was only the first phase of the cooperation plan. There were still follow-up projects that needed cooperation. As long as Zhang Fengxian isn't a fool, he will definitely sign it." Tan Xiao said, "What you said makes sense." However, there was still a more crucial problem. They were the Hu family and the Shui family. I heard some news that the Hu family and the Shui family are not as strong as the Zhang family, but if they join forces with the Zhang family, I'm afraid it will be very troublesome. Long Hanwen replied with a serious expression, "This is also what I'm worried about. Therefore, I came to find you this time to listen to your plan. Since you want to set up a trap, I'm afraid you already have an idea." "I don't know much about commercial wars." Tan Xiao shook his head. "But I have a way to ruin the reputation of the Zhang family in a short time. Doesn't the Zhang group have shares? If their reputation is damaged, I'm afraid the stock price will depreciate significantly. Furthermore, I can guarantee that the Zhang family's patriarch, Zhang Fengxian, as well as several other key members of the Zhang family will disappear at the same time. Without a leader, I believe our plan will be implemented smoothly." "Are you sure?" Long Hanwen asked in a deep voice. "I'm not 100% sure, but I'm 99% sure," Tan Xiao replied without hesitation. Long Hanwen replied with a deep voice, "If that's the case, then the Long family will agree to this deal. Now tell me, aside from our Long family and Chen Zhizhong, which other forces will participate in this?" "I'm not sure about the Ouyang family," Tan Xiao said. "But I can confirm that there are 4 groups of forces. Your Long family, Chen Zhizhong, and my other 2 friends, Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingzhen." Long Hanwen was shocked. "You know Miao Wentong? The patriarch of the Miao family in Haiqing province, and the big boss of the Miao group? Sigh, let's update it together. I'm too lazy to separate the time." Chapter 190. Tan Xiao nodded and said, "I know him. We've experienced several things together and established a friendship. I've contacted him last night and he agreed to join us. Long Hanwen said with an inconceivable expression, I have a friend from Haiqing province. His business is also very big, but it pales in comparison to the Miao Group. It's not worth mentioning. Although Miao Wentong is very mysterious, his identity is well known. He's a well-known figure in Haiqing province. Tan Xiu said, I don't know about his fame. Long Hanwen laughed heartily and said, Tan Xiu, I was worried that you would invite some people with no weight to join us. But now it seems that my worries were groundless. Our Long family, Chen Zhizhong, and Miao Wentong are enough to suppress the Zhang family and make them unable to breathe. As for the one you said, Xiao Mingzhen, I've never heard of this name. Where is he from? What business does he do? Tan Xiu said, he's from northern Jiangsu. He runs a venture capital company. As for whether he has other identities or other companies, I don't know. Moreover, Xiao Mingzhen and Miao Wentong are old friends. They can be said to be brothers who have gone through fire and water together. Long Hanwen sighed and said, to be able to become Long Hanwen's brother, this Xiao Mingzhen must have a great background. When will they arrive here? Tan Xiu said, I've made an appointment with them to meet at the Long's dining hall this evening. When the time comes, we'll get together and formulate a good plan. Long Hanwen frowned. After pondering for a moment, he said, if possible, I think it's best if we don't meet at the Long's dining hall. Don't forget that the Long's dining hall is the highest standard hotel in the entire Star City. Countless eyes are staring at it. With so many of us gathering there, the Zhang family will certainly hear about it. Tan Xiu said, then where shall we meet? Long Hanwen said, for the sake of absolute confidentiality, we'll meet at Lakeview Manor. Lakeview Manor is owned by an old friend of mine. We're like brothers who have gone through life and death together. I also have shares there. In addition, there are only a few guests and the security system is very strict. Tan Xiu nodded after hanging up the phone. Then I'll inform them again. To the living room and said, Long Hanwen said with a smile, and her brother will arrive in Star City in 2 hours. The accurate information. A smile was outlined on the corner of the direction of the kitchen mouth as he said. He got up and walked over, is the successor of the Ouyang family and a rising star in the business world. Mu Qingping said after he took over the Ouyang family's business. Early in the morning. He had done a few. She said she wanted to go back to Jingmen Island every time, but she didn't even bring her luggage to the Ouyang family. Tan Xiu nodded and took out his mobile phone to dial Ouyang family will also board our ship. Later, the call was connected and Ouyang Lulu's voice with the cooperation of 5 forces. 2 hours. The Zhang family will surely arrive at Star City in 2 hours. Even if the Hu and Shui families help, if you have anything to say, I'm afraid they won't be able to protect the Zhang family. All right. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, wrong. It's 6 forces. Long Zhenyu was surprised and asked, who else? Tan Xiu pointed to himself and said with a faint smile, don't tell me my magnificent Tang Corporation is a vegetarian? Although we don't have much capital, we have people. My people are the key to the plan. Long Zhenyu couldn't help laughing and said, Brother Tang, I was wrong. I heard you have a group of very powerful men. Even the security guards of Southgate Town are not their opponents. Did Long Shuiyao tell you about it? Tan Xiu said, yes, I do have a group of men, and they will be the ones to handle this matter. Brother Tang, who exactly are they? Asked Long Zhenyu. How did you win them over? Tan Xiu smiled and didn't answer Long Zhenyu's question. He didn't want outsiders to know about the secret between him and the Everlasting Feast Hall. As a matter of fact, he could pull the Everlasting Feast Hall into this plan. But the significance of the Everlasting Feast Hall's existence was to protect Gu Yan. Therefore, he couldn't let anything happen to the Everlasting Feast Hall. Suddenly, Long Hanwen said, Tang Xiu, have you ever thought about pulling Yuan Zhengxian along? I heard you have a deep relationship with him. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he shook his head and said, I don't have much relationship with Yuan Zhengxian. I only have a good relationship with his son. Besides, his business is very special, so there's no need to pull him this time. Long Hanwen nodded and said, his military business is indeed not suitable. However, as long as we leak a bit of information to him, I'm afraid he can help us. Don't tell me you think we can't destroy the Zhang family with so many people? Tan Xiu asked back. Long Hanwen stared blankly for a moment before he shook his head and no longer spoke. In fact, he had long wanted to destroy the Zhang family. As long as the Zhang family was destroyed, he could dominate the real estate business in Star City and share a bigger cake. He knew that Tang Xiu had already seen through his thoughts through the plan. But he didn't care. As long as he could destroy the Zhang family, he was willing to take the lead. However, he was still a bit shocked. He didn't expect that Tang Xiu, who had just taken the college entrance test, could have such a strong network. Even he himself couldn't do it in this aspect. Otherwise, he would have already started to lay out a plan to deal with the Zhang family. Lunchtime. Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu didn't stay. After they left in a hurry, they rushed to the Lakeview Manor to arrange a secret meeting in the evening. Tan Xiu, there are policemen visiting outside. Mu Qingping came to Tan Xiu's bedroom and reported in a low voice. Policemen? Tan Xiu had long expected that the police would come, but he didn't expect that they would come so fast. However, everything must be based on evidence. He believed that when he killed the 3 assassins, he had done it very cleanly. As long as Wolfhead and the others didn't sell him out, the police wouldn't be able to find him. I'll go down to see them. Tan Xiu replied and then left the room. In the hall on the first floor, Cheng Xueme and a young criminal police officer were sitting in the living room, waiting. They didn't touch the tea placed in front of them. Captain Cheng? Tan Xiu came to the first floor. After seeing Cheng Xueme, he pretended to be surprised and called out. Cheng Xueme stood up and looked at Tan Xiu with an indifferent expression. Then she said, Mr. Tang, I took the liberty to disturb you, please don't blame me. We're now investigating a murder case that happened outside your villa complex in Southgate Town. We found that you live here through the surveillance video, so we want to know something from you. I hope you can cooperate with us. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I'll cooperate. I'll definitely cooperate. Cheng Xueme asked, We saw from the villa complex's surveillance video that you left the villa complex yesterday afternoon, but you came back soon. I want to know, did you go out again after you came back? Tan Xiu shook his head and said, After I came back yesterday, I read for a while and then slept for a while. I didn't step out of the house even half a step. Cheng Xueme said, May I ask, what did you go out for yesterday? Tan Xiu said, I took my apprentice to buy tutoring materials. The stationery store owner in the nearby commercial street can prove it. Cheng Xueme frowned and said, Then, have you heard about the murder case that happened in front of your villa complex's entrance? Tan Xiu nodded and said, A friend of mine stayed at my house yesterday, and I heard about it from her. I heard that 3 people died, and they were shot to death. I really don't know how the deterrent force of the police has become so low now. Recently, there have been a lot of murders in Star City, and you have a lot of responsibility. Cheng Xueme felt helpless inside. She knew that looking for Tang Xiu would be of no use at all. She couldn't find even the slightest clue. This guy. He didn't look like a young man at all, but more like a cunning old fox. Subsequently, Cheng Xueme asked a few more questions, but she still didn't get any results. Therefore, she looked at Tan Xiu and said, I've asked all my questions. Thank you for your cooperation. We still have something to do, so we'll take our leave first. Tan Xiu said with a smile, Captain Cheng, why are you in such a hurry to leave? Why don't you have dinner first? My housekeeper's cooking skills are absolutely top-notch. I guarantee that you'll have a big appetite and your mouth will be full of oil. Cheng Xueme was amused and angry at the same time and said, Do you think I have the leisure to stay here and have dinner? Right now, I'm so overwhelmed by this case that I haven't slept a wink since yesterday. But you actually have a housekeeper. It seems that you've changed a lot in the last 2 months. Everyone needs to move forward. Tan Xiu said with a smile, I've recently started a small business and made some money. Otherwise, I'm afraid that the appearance you see now is still the same as the first time we met. Cheng Xueme recalled the first time she met Tan Xiu. She immediately nodded and said, You're very good. Not only did you share your mother's worries, but you also strive hard. That's right, thank you for tutoring my younger sister. We're classmates, so we should love each other. Tan Xiu waved and said, Love each other? Cheng Xueme looked at Tan Xiu with a strange expression. She felt that there was another profound meaning in his words. Could it be that her younger sister and Tan Xiao, Qing Xuemei's heartbeat sped up? She stared at Tan Xiao with a serious expression and asked, "You and my younger sister should only have a pure classmate relationship before, right?" Tan Xiao shook his head. Cheng Xuemei's expression changed and her tone turned stern as she said with a heavy tone, "Then what's the relationship between the two of you? My younger sister is still young and it's not suitable for her to fall in love at such a young age." Tan Xiao was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh as he said, "I said we're not just classmates, but that's because we're friends. What are you thinking? Even if I like women, I won't like a little girl who hasn't fully developed. You, on the other hand, are quite good. Think about it. How about marrying me after I graduate from college and giving birth to a child for me?" Do you know why I asked you for that 200 million? He had bought the information of the mastermind from the killer's contact. "I spent 200 million. Do you think I'll swallow this insult and humiliation?" Kong Xia suddenly understood. She hesitated for a moment before she nodded and said, "What do you want me to do, boss?" Tan Xiao said, "I want you to be my spokesperson to discuss the conditions with the other 5 parties. Once the Zhang family is uprooted, we'll have to share some of their assets. Also, I've called the 20 security guards I handed over to you before and asked them to do some things." "Which 5 parties?" Kong Xia asked. Tan Xiao pointed to Chen Zhizhong and said, "He's one of them. There's also the Long family, the Ouyang family, and my other 2 friends. You can see them tonight." A glint flashed in Kong Xia's eyes as she asked, "Boss, are you the one who started this?" Tan Xiao replied. A smile appeared on Kong Xia's face as she nodded and said, "I know what to do, boss." Quickly, Ouyang Lulu and Ouyang Lei rushed to Southgate Town. After they came to the villa and saw Tan Xiao for the first time, Ouyang Lei opened his arms with a cordial expression and said with a smile, "Future brother-in-law, I know you have a big plan and the Ouyang family wants to join in, so my family sent me here. This time, we brothers will join hands and get rid of the Zhangs." Tan Xiao stepped back and avoided Ouyang Lei's embrace. With a strange expression, he looked at the blushing Ouyang Lulu and said with a forced smile, "Your big brother Ouyang, right? I think you're mistaken. I'm not your future brother-in-law. What you said is not good for your sister's reputation." Ouyang Lei stared blankly for a moment. The smile on his face quickly receded as he glared at Tan Xiao and shouted, "What the hell are you talking about? You slept with my sister. Don't tell me you won't admit it after eating and wiping your mouth?" Tan Xiao was dumbfounded. "I slept with her? You won't admit it after eating and wiping your mouth? When did I sleep with her?" After reacting, Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, "I think there's a misunderstanding here, no? Ouyang Lulu and I are just friends. We didn't—" "Shut up!" Ouyang Lei shouted. He turned his head and fiercely glared at Ouyang Lulu, saying, "What do you want me to say about you? You've been abandoned by him, haven't you? Come home with me. See if I don't tell Dad and Mom about this and let them teach you a lesson." With a bit of anger and shame on her face, Ouyang Lulu loudly said, "Brother, you're the one talking nonsense here. How many times have I told you that Tan Xiao and I are really friends, just a little better than ordinary friends? It's your own misunderstanding, yet you still want to teach me a lesson?" Ouyang Lei frowned as he looked at Ouyang Lulu and then turned to look at Tan Xiao. After hesitating for a moment, he asked again, "Are you really not?" "We're really not," said Tan Xiao. Ouyang Lei rolled his eyes and snorted, If you're not now, then let it be tomorrow. In any case, my parents have already recognized you as the son-in-law of the Ouyangs, so you can't run away from this identity. Tan Xiao, my sister has always had eyes on the top of her head. Now that she finally likes someone, you can't abandon her." Tan Xiao sighed helplessly. Ouyang Lei's random matchmaking was really a headache for him. If he wasn't Ouyang Lulu's brother, he would have thrown this guy out. In order not to be entangled in this topic, Tan Xiao said, "Has your Ouyang family really decided to participate in this?" "That's right." Ouyang Lei said, "How can we let our family members stand and watch when others bully us? Don't worry. A large number of people will come to Star City in the next 2 days. I came here ahead of time to prepare for them. Also, the family has used 5 billion yuan. Once we start the operation, the money I brought can be used immediately. What a big move. Tan Xiu secretly smiled wryly inside. He really couldn't stand Ouyang Lei's affectionate behavior. But one shouldn't slap a smiling face. After all, this guy came to help him, so he couldn't drive him away. Kong Xia, who was standing behind Tan Xiu, looked at Ouyang Lei with a displeased expression. If it wasn't because she couldn't flare up, she would have gone up and slapped him twice. Her boss and Ouyang Lulu didn't have any romantic feelings, yet he dared to talk nonsense. Somehow or other, ever since she had a direct confrontation with Ouyang Lulu, she couldn't bear to see Ouyang Lulu and Tan Xiu flirting with each other. The more Ouyang Lulu took the initiative, the more dissatisfied she was. If there were no outsiders at this moment, she really wanted to pull Tan Xiu's arm to show off to Ouyang Lulu and Ouyang Lei. In the evening, a group of 5 people drove to Lakeview Manor. The manor's boss was surnamed Sun, a stout middle-aged man with straight eyebrows and a mustache, which made him look quite funny. Welcome, everyone. Old Long has instructed us to take you directly to the innermost conference room when you arrive. If you have any request, you can summon the waiters at any time. Tonight's waiters are our own people. Sun Jingquan said with a smile while leading the way. Chen Zhizhong was a frequent visitor here, so he was the one to talk. So, Tan Xiu's group of 5 saw Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu in the conference room. After exchanging greetings, everyone sat down in the conference room. Long Hanwen then asked, Tan Xiu, when will your 2 friends arrive? Tan Xiu looked at the time and said, they should be arriving soon. Sure enough. Just as Tan Xiu finished speaking, Sun Jingquan, who had yet to leave, received a notice from the security personnel that Miao Wendong and Xiao Mingzhen had arrived and were on their way here. I'm sorry we're late. Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingzhen apologized after entering the conference room. Tan Xiu was the first to stand up. He looked at the 2 and said, we've just arrived. Let me introduce you, this is... A few minutes later, Tan Xiu introduced the 2 to everyone. After exchanging pleasantries, everyone talked about today's main purpose. Everyone, today's matter was provoked by me. The Zhang family must be destroyed because I don't want to always be remembered by others. I'm very grateful for everyone's help. If you need this Tan Xiu's help in the future, please don't hesitate to speak. Tan Xiu was the first to speak. Long Hanwen said with a smile, the Zhang family has long regarded our Long family as a thorn in their side. They can't wait to get rid of us. Now that there's an opportunity, I naturally won't give it up. Tan Xiu, everyone who came here today is one of us. Tell me, what's our first move? Tan Xiu said, I'll tell you my initial idea. Then we'll brainstorm and formulate a perfect plan. The Zhang family is deeply rooted in Star City and has existed for decades. What we need to do now is to lure them with benefits. As long as the profit is big enough, the Zhang family naturally won't let us eat it alone. Coincidentally, I've cooperated with Long Zhengyu and Ouyang Lulu a few days ago to get a piece of land and prepare to build a building and then, along with Tan Xiu's explanation, everyone nodded repeatedly. When Tan Xiu finished his explanation, Long Hanwen said with a smile, I'm afraid everyone's understanding of the Zhang family is not as good as mine. As the saying goes, the one who understands you the most is not your friend, but your enemy. Now that we're standing on the opposite side, I'll talk about my idea. For 2 hours, a group of people discussed in the conference room and quickly formulated a good plan. Moreover, everyone also reported the amount of capital they could contribute. Long Hanwen was rich, so he promised to give 5 billion. Chen Zhizhong also gave 2 billion. Ouyang Lei also brought 5 billion yuan, which added up to 12 billion yuan. No one knew where Miao Wentong and Xiao Mingzhen got the money, but they also pooled together 3 billion. Even more so, they had arranged a large number of manpower. Whether it was military force or commercial warfare, they were all prepared. Chapter 192. Noon of the next day. Long Hanwen contacted the heads of the 4 banks in Star City and invited them to the Long's dining hall. He also revealed to them that he wanted to get a loan. The 4 banks wanted to cooperate with the Long Group and expressed that there was no problem. But when they learned the amount of the loan Long Hanwen wanted, each and every one of them hesitated. 5 billion for each bank, a total of 20 billion. Even the heads of the Star City's banks were shocked by Long Hanwen's generosity. Furthermore, when they heard that Long Hanwen had gathered 8 billion and was preparing to develop a big project, they were not happy at all. Instead, they were even more worried. A big project worth tens of billions. This was not a joking matter. If the project progressed smoothly, then it would be fine. But if the project went wrong, they simply couldn't afford the loss of 5 billion. Therefore, they just promised Long Hanwen that they would go back and think about it. At night, Long Hanwen invited a group of government officials to the Long's dining hall. During the banquet, he tried to curry favor with them and vaguely revealed that he was going to carry out a big project. It was expected that the plan would be ready in the next few days. At that time, he hoped that they would take care of the approval. These officials naturally hoped that Star City could have a better development. Coupled with their good personal relationship with Long Hanwen, they promised that they would take care of it. The third day, Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu separately invited several rich big bosses in Star City and expressed their willingness to cooperate with them. But the conditions they gave were not particularly good. The big bosses didn't give a clear answer and just told Long Hanwen and Long Zhengyu to think about it. They would talk about it in a few days. While Long Hanwen was carrying out his plan, Tan Xiao and the others were not idle. Chen Zhizhong stood up and promised Long Hanwen that he would invest 200,000 yuan. Miao Wenang and Xiao Mingjin, on the other hand, scattered their people in the vicinity of the Zhang family's industries in Star City. Ouyang Lei, on the other hand, rushed to Blue City in the next 2 days. Under the introduction of several friends in Blue City, he came to Blue City and met with Long Hanwen at the Long's dining hall. As for the specific discussion between the two, many big bosses in Blue City's business circle revealed a well-aware look. For some reason, someone took a picture of a building complex design with a mobile phone and spread it everywhere. Star City's Zhang family. Zhang Fengxian sat upright in his study, listening to the report of his secretary in front of him. His eyes flashed with a shrewd light. In front of him was a blueprint that had been printed by a printer. On the blueprint, there was an alternative building complex, and every design was almost perfect. That's all. After listening to the secretary's report, Zhang Fengxian finally moved his eyes away from the architectural complex design in front of him and asked calmly. The young secretary said, "That's all I've found." Ouyang Lei and Long Hanwen were still in the Long's dining hall. The Ouyang family's development in Jingmen Island had reached its limit. If they wanted to expand their business, they must snatch food from other people. Therefore, when Ouyang Lei came to Blue City, he went straight to our Star City through someone's introduction and became friends with Long Hanwen. I think the possibility of them working together is higher. Zhang Fengxian asked thoughtfully, "How's the stock situation of Long's group?" The young secretary said, "It reached the upper limit today." Zhang Fengxian slowly stood up and carefully rolled up the architectural design on the table. Then he said, "Go call Daqin, tell her to come with me to the Long's dining hall." The young secretary agreed and left the study. 2 minutes later, Zhang Daqin appeared in the study with a pale complexion. She looked at Zhang Fengxian, who was standing by the window, and asked, "Dad, is there something you need from me?" Zhang Fengxian said, "Have you heard about the recent movements of the Long family?" Zhang Daqin nodded and said, "I've heard about it. As a matter of fact, Long Zhengyu bought those lands as early as half a month ago. I knew that the Long family would make a big move, but I didn't expect it to be this fast." Zhang Fengxian asked, "You should have seen the architectural complex design, right? Tell me what you think." Zhang Fengxian said, "It's absolutely a wonderful work of art. If the Long family can really build all the buildings according to the requirements of the design, it will definitely cause a sensation throughout the country. No, it will probably cause a sensation all over the world. However, the funds needed to build it will be huge. Let alone the Long family, even if there are 10 Long families, I'm afraid they won't be able to come up with that much money." Zhang Fengxian said lightly, "The Long family can't come up with that much money now, but the project can be done separately. If they divide the architectural complex into 10 or 20 phases, it will take a long time. It won't be a problem to completely build it. Furthermore, once this design is spread, once the Long family starts the project, I'm afraid that the commercial district, residential district, and all the real estate prices will soar. Even the Long family stock will soar a lot. Do you think our Zhang family can get a piece of the cake if we join in? Zhang Deqin's eyes lit up and asked, Dad, do you want to cooperate with the Long family? Zhang Fengxian nodded and said, Cooperation is a must. If we let the Long family raise funds to start the project, our Zhang family will definitely be surpassed by them in the future. Both of us are businessmen, and businessmen pay attention to benefits. Since there are benefits, why can't we cooperate? Tan Xiu's appearance appeared inside Zhang Deqin's mind. Thinking about the inextricable relationship between Tan Xiu and the Long family, she hesitated and said, Dad, could it be a trap? Zhang Fengxian sneered, Trap? With Long Hanwen's ability, there's no way he can set a trap for our Zhang family. Otherwise, he'll have to be prepared to fall into it. Let's go. Come with me to the Long's dining hall. Zhang Fengxian said with a confused expression, Why are we going to the Long's dining hall? Zhang Fengxian said, The Ouyang family in Jingmen Island wants to expand their business. Originally, they set their target in Blue City. But after being introduced by a friend in Blue City, they came to our Star City and joined hands with Long Hanwen. Since we're doing business, then we'll make money together. The Long family and the Ouyang family don't have the ability to take out such a huge sum of money to do business by themselves. Zhang Deqin was somewhat vigilant inside. But she knew her father's character. Once he made a decision, even if she had grasped some of the family's power, there was no way she could interfere with his decision. However, she still excused herself to change her clothes. Taking advantage of this time, she called her men and asked them to investigate Tan Xiu's whereabouts for the past 2 days. Just as she followed her father to the Long's dining hall, she received a report from her men that Tan Xiu had been staying in Southgate Town for the past 2 days and hadn't left even a step. Zhang Deqin felt relieved after getting this news. At the Long's dining hall. Inside the spacious and bright presidential suite, Long Hanwen was holding a glass of red wine with a cigar dangling from the corner of his mouth, talking and laughing wittily with Ouyang Lei. In front of them was the architectural design sketched by Tan Xiu himself. Ding dong. The doorbell sounded. Ouyang Lei opened the door and saw Long Zhengyu standing outside. He nodded and let him enter the room. Dad, I just received a call from 2 banks. They said that they can only lend us 2 billion yuan at most. The 2 banks have a total of 4 billion yuan. The interest is not low. Long Hanwen squinted his eyes and asked, How long? Long Zhengyu said, 2 years. Long Hanwen said, Tell them to either increase the loan to 3 years or reduce the interest. Otherwise, I'll borrow from other banks. Long Zhengyu nodded. His eyes glanced at the door as he lowered his voice and said, I just received a report from our men. Zhang Fengxian and his daughter, Zhang Deqin, as well as several core members of the Zhang family have arrived at the Long's dining hall. If they're coming to our place, they should be arriving soon. Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei looked at each other. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, The fish has taken the bait. Long Hanwen sneered and said, Zhang Fengxian is just like a fly. He'll find a chance to benefit from it. We've released so many rumors. If he's still indifferent, then he's not him. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, That brother-in-law of mine is also amazing. He's been staying in Southgate Town for 2 days after creating such a big commotion. It's as if he doesn't care about the success or failure of this matter. However, a young man has his own way of thinking. He has secretly hired a group of internet water army. Once our plan is carried out, I'm afraid that the internet will be flooded with reports that will smear the Zhang family's reputation. Long Hanwen nodded and said, Internet propaganda is definitely a very influential way of spreading information. Recently, my men have been going all out to investigate the evil deeds done by the Zhang family. As long as we find the evidence, we'll hand it over to those internet water army. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, If I have children like Zhang Deqin and Zhang Yongjin in the future, I'll definitely strangle them as soon as possible so that they won't bring disaster to the family. Long Hanwen said indifferently, There are all kinds of birds in the forest. As the saying goes, it's easy to conquer a country, but difficult to defend it. Once a black sheep appears in a family, I'm afraid the whole family will be implicated. The Zhang family has done a lot of evil deeds these years. It's time for them to receive their retribution. Ding dong. The doorbell rang again. Long Hanwen nodded to Long Zhengyu. He looked at the latter as he walked to the door and opened it from the inside. Oh, isn't this Uncle Zhang? What kind of wind blew you here today? Long Zhengyu saw the 5 people standing outside the door. His eyes finally fell on Zhang Fengxian as he greeted with a smile. Zhang Fengxian said with a smile, I heard your father was drinking here. How could this old friend not come and join in the fun? What's wrong? You're not going to invite me in? Long Zhengyu hesitated for a moment before he said, Uncle Zhang, please come in. Zhang Fengxian nodded. After entering the living room of the presidential suite, he saw Long Hanwen and Ouyang Lei chatting on the sofa. Brother Long, you're in a good mood. We took the liberty to visit you. Did we disturb your hospitality? I've been locked up in the dark room for a whole day and almost couldn't come out. Fortunately, I finally completed today's task. I'm just asking for monthly votes. Chapter 193. Long Hanwen smiled as he got up to greet him and said, It's all right. Nephew Ouyang and I are almost done talking. It's been a long time since I've had a drink with Brother Zhang. How about we have dinner together? Zhang Fengxian said with a smile, No problem. I'll be the host tonight. This should be the business genius from Jingmen Island's Ouyang family, right? It's true that heroes come from the youths. Seeing is believing. Ouyang Lei said with a smile, You're overpraising me. Immediately, he turned to Long Hanwen and asked, Uncle Long, who is this? Long Hanwen said with a smile, He's a great figure in Star City. Have you heard of the Star City's Zhang Group? He's the Zhang Group's boss, Zhang Fengxian. Ouyang Lei nodded casually and said with a smile, I've been looking forward to meeting you for a long time. After exchanging pleasantries, they then sat on the sofa in the living room. Zhang Fengxian could clearly see the original architectural design on the coffee table. However, after seeing Long Zhengyu hurriedly roll up the design and carefully put it into a box, he said with a smile, Brother Long, we're straightforward people. I'm looking for you this time because I want to buy this design. Just name your price. Long Hanwen's complexion changed. The smile on his face receded like a tide. With a somewhat hazy expression, Long Hanwen said with a fake smile, Brother Zhang, you've got a good trick. You even know that I have this architectural design. It seems like a traitor has appeared around me. However, I've already filed this design on the internet, so I'm the owner. I won't sell it. Zhang Fengxian said, Brother Long, you misunderstood. In fact, your architectural design has been photographed by someone with a mobile phone and spread out. Many people have seen it now. I also inadvertently found out about it. Long Hanwen's complexion changed as he shouted with a deep voice, Zhengyu, what happened? Long Zhengyu shook his head and said, I don't know. This design has always been kept by me. Aside from you and Brother Ouyang, I guarantee that no one else has seen it. Long Hanwen asked with a deep voice, If it wasn't leaked out from our hands, then who did it? Could it be? Long Zhengyu forced a smile and said, It shouldn't be. That master designer has always had a good reputation. It took him half a year to design this architectural design for us. Zhang Fengxian laughed and said, Brother Long, it's useless to pursue the responsibility now. Since you are the owner of this design, no one can take it away from you even if it is spread all over the world. Since you don't want to sell the design, you must want to start the project yourself, right? Also, I heard that you've been in contact with a few bank presidents these days, and you've even met some big shots in the officialdom? Long Hanwen snorted and said, It seems like there's no such thing as an impenetrable wall in this world. I've been careful enough, but I didn't expect someone with ulterior motives to find out. Zhang Fengxian laughed and said, Brother Long, don't be hostile towards me. I came to find you with the idea of a win-win situation for both of us. I've seen this blueprint before. It's quite a large project. Not only are there residential areas, but there are also commercial areas. There are even dozens of buildings that are nearly 100 meters tall. It's a huge project. So, what I mean is, let's cooperate. Long Hanwen frowned and said, "You also want a piece of the cake?" Zhang Fengxian said with a serious expression, "Brother Long, your Long family will not be able to swallow such a big project. If we cooperate, I'm sure the project will progress smoothly. Furthermore, our two families are the leaders in the real estate industry in Star City. Once we cooperate, it will bring us great benefits." Long Hanwen forced a smile and said, "You're right. I also know that our Long family can't swallow this big cake alone. However, Jingmen Island's Ouyang family wants to cooperate with me. If we start the project in stages, although it will take more time, I'm afraid the profit will also be quite considerable." So, Zhang Fengxian waved his hand to interrupt Long Hanwen and said with a sinking tone, "Brother Long, time is money. The earlier we finish the big project, the earlier we can withdraw the funds. Since the Ouyang family wants to cooperate, I have no problem with it. We only need to sign a tripartite agreement to jointly fund and start the project. Coincidentally, my Zhang family's recent properties have almost been sold, and the funds have all been withdrawn. We can easily take out several billion yuan." Long Hanwen raised his brows as he looked at Ouyang Lei. Ouyang Lei pondered for a moment and slowly said, "Since the Zhang group has enough funds, then our Ouyang family also has no problem. However, I still have a request to start the project in a short period of time. In addition, our three parties will jointly fund the project, and the person from each party will be the person in charge." This, Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian looked at each other with hesitation on their faces. Ouyang Lei slowly said, "My family can invest 5 billion yuan, and I've brought the money. It can be invested into the project at any time. But both of you are Star City's local enterprises, so I must be cautious in cooperating with you. Therefore, I suggest that our three parties determine the amount of investment funds, and the three parties will jointly manage the investment funds. Also, the agreement must clearly state that no one is allowed to withdraw the funds before the project is completed. I don't want such a situation to happen, because it will affect the implementation of the entire project." Long Hanwen was surprised and said, "You mean all three of us will form a management team? Isn't this too absurd? A group of dragons without a leader is bound to affect the project." Zhang Fengxian also understood this truth, as he nodded and said, "Nephew Ouyang, you've never been involved in the real estate business, right? A management team formed by three parties will be very troublesome if we encounter any problems during the project. Each of us will have our own reasons, and no one is willing to listen to anyone. So, I suggest that we elect an CEO. Someone who will be fully responsible for this project." Ouyang Lei pondered for a long while before he slowly said, "If we want to elect an CEO, then I must find this person. You can rest assured that I won't use the original staff of my Ouyang family. Instead, I will hire a famous domestic manager. If you agree, then we'll have a tripartite cooperation. If you don't agree, then my Ouyang family will give up this cooperation." Long Hanwen glanced at Zhang Fengxian and said with a sinking tone, "I can agree to your request, but I must have the right to decide on the candidate. If I think that the professional manager you hire is unqualified, then you absolutely can't use him." "I also have the same idea," Zhang Fengxian quickly said. Ouyang Lei slowly said, "I have a friend, and I believe you've heard her name. Kangxia. I'll personally go to the capital tomorrow morning and invite her. What do you think?" "Kangxia?" A strange expression appeared on Long Hanwen and Zhang Fengxian's faces. There was also a bit of regret in their eyes. At the side, Zhang Deqin felt that the name Kangxia sounded familiar, but she couldn't remember where she had heard it. After pondering for a moment, she asked in a low voice, "Dad, is this Kangxia very famous?" Zhang Fengxian sighed. "She's more than famous. She's simply famous all over the world. You haven't grasped the family's power yet, so you don't know much about the world's top gold managers. But it's a pity." Zhang Deqin was confused. "But what's a pity?" Zhang Fengxian forced a smile and said, "It's a pity. Kangxia no longer works as a professional manager for other companies, but started her own business. Moreover, the place she chose was our Blue City. Have you heard of the magnificent Tang Corporation? It's a newly established company in Star City, and she's the general manager. Zhang Deqin suddenly understood. She finally understood why she felt familiar when she heard the name Kong Xia. It turned out that she was the general manager of the newly established company. She recalled that she was often interviewed in financial magazines recently. Ouyang Lei listened to the conversation between Zhang Fengxian's parents and said with astonishment, "You mean, Kong Xia is in Star City? And she even established her own company?" Zhang Fengxian nodded. "That's right. It's called the Magnificent Tang Corporation." Ouyang Lei took out his mobile and dialed a cell number. After his call was connected, he quickly asked, "Kong Xia, I'm Ouyang Lei. I heard that you've established your own company? Is it true? I say, old friend, isn't it too late for you to get the news? I've indeed established my own company, and I've just set up the company's framework. However, I'm afraid it will take a long time for it to officially step on the right track. How about it? You called me just to ask me about this?" Kong Xia's laughter came from the phone. Ouyang Lei forced a smile and said, "I'm really slow on the uptake. Where you now? The Imperial Capital? Or Star City?" "Star City. I'm also in Star City. Is it convenient for us to meet? You're also in Star City? Of course. We've known each other for many years, and I haven't seen you for nearly a year. Where you now? I'm coming to you now." Long's Dining Hall. "You're also in the Long's Dining Hall? Isn't this world too small? Tell me your room number and I'll be there immediately." "All right." Ouyang Lei hung up the phone and looked at the pairs of eyes looking at him. He forced a smile and said, "I never thought that she would establish her own company. I met her in the United States about 7 or 8 years ago, and I even helped her with a small favor. She once told me that she owed me a favor and that she would definitely repay it in the future. I originally wanted to use that favor to make her our professional manager, but now it seems that I can't do it." Long Hanwen's expression moved as he said, "Actually, it's not impossible. It's just that it depends on whether Kong Xia is willing or not. As far as I know, the Magnificent Tang Corporation's structure has been completed, and it seems to be doing cosmetics business. However, they haven't even built the factory yet, so I don't know when they'll be able to produce the products. We can let her manage our preliminary project. Besides, it's very convenient since it's in Star City." Zhang Fengxian forced a smile and said, "I've heard about her character. Will she agree?" You're tuning in to the Passion Pages YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.